Chapter 274. Tang Bin had his own ulterior motives and had long wanted to kill Tang Xiaoxi, so Lin Muyu naturally wouldn't help him. He wished that this flaming ironback bear could live up to his expectations and kill all of Tang Bin's men. Unfortunately, even though the flaming ironback bear was a 10,000-year-old spiritual beast, it couldn't withstand a battle of attrition. After about 30 minutes, this 10,000-year-old spiritual beast that had lived in the Lock Valley for thousands of years finally reached the end of its life. Its body was riddled with holes as it howled miserably, crushing countless little white flowers. Perhaps it wasn't an exaggeration, because it was already dyed red with blood. The entire Lock Valley was filled with corpses, and the cries of the injured were endless. Lin Muyu quietly watched everything that happened in front of her from the top of a huge rock. She suddenly leaped up and left the Lock Valley after a few lightning bolts. She had to reach the dragon's tomb as soon as possible. It was just a coincidence that she met Tang Bin's group here, so there was no need to follow them. In the valley, there were broken limbs and bodies everywhere, and the injured were constantly howling. Tang Bin carried his blood-stained sword and walked among the crowd. His gaze was cold as he muttered, We still fell for that old fox Zhen Yifan's tricks. Tang Hao said helplessly, Moreover, we can't even talk about it. Even if we reason with him, we'll only become a laughingstock. Tang Bin clenched his teeth. One day, this old fox will pay for his cunning today. Yes. Tang Bin stepped on the ironback bear's corpse and pierced his sword into its skull, digging out the 1,100-year-old ironback bear's spiritual stone. Suddenly, a warm energy flowed into his palm. This was a fire-type spiritual stone, and it was one of the more precious spiritual stones of various attributes. The fire-type spiritual stone's power was surging, and its fire-type attack was also relatively high, so it was the favorite of most cultivators. Tang Bin silently put the spiritual stone in his pocket, then looked around and said, Those who can get on the horses, get on them immediately. We'll leave this place and leave a small number of people to take care of the injured. The smell of blood will only attract stronger spiritual beasts to hunt us down. The injured will return to Seven Seas City, and the rest will follow me to the dragon's tomb. Tang Hao was stunned. Young master, if the injured move alone, I'm afraid they'll all be killed if they encounter any spiritual beasts. Are we really going to abandon the injured? Uncle Hao. Tang Bin turned around and coldly looked at him, saying, Xiaoxi is a descendant of the Tang family who possesses the Fire Fox martial spirit. Moreover, she has already refined the Fire Fox seal. Xiaoxi's life is more important than the lives of 1,000 ordinary family servants. You should understand this, right? Tang Hao nodded silently. Yes. After regrouping, about 150 members of the Tang clan mounted their horses and quickly left the Loxi Valley. As for the nearly 300 injured people who were left behind, the only fate that awaited them was death. The Loxi Valley was located in the depths of the dragon-seeking forest. Spiritual beasts that were over 5,000 years old could be found everywhere in the surroundings. There was no way for them to leave. The dragon's tomb was the place where the ancient dragons buried themselves. The dragon clan was the closest existence to the gods, and they were also one of the few spiritual beasts that possessed high intelligence. When every dragon felt that their life had come to an end, most would choose to come to the dragon's tomb to quietly sleep and die. This was the most peaceful way for them to leave. That was why the dragon's tomb was located in the deepest part of the dragon-seeking forest. Right now, there were piles of dragon bones everywhere. There were low-level dragons, and there were also spiritual dragons. However, these piles of bones were left on the ground, and later generations had no way of telling how glorious the owners of these bones were when they were still alive. Lin Muyu spurred his horse past, holding the dragon spirit sword in his hand. He silently took out a bottle of spirit concentration elixir and drank it. This way, he could resist the miasma in the dragon's tomb without using his fighting energy. When he arrived at the periphery of the dragon's tomb, he tied his horse outside the forest and walked into the forest with his sword in hand. In the distance, the piles of dragon bones glowed with a faint golden light under the setting sun. Lin Muyu stepped into the dragon's tomb step by step. He quickly extended his spirit pulse technique to search for auras and living beings in the dragon's tomb. However, What troubled him the most was that the spiritual energy in the dragon's tomb was too strong. Furthermore, the piles of dragon bones also contained dragon power, which greatly interfered with the searching effect of the spirit pulse technique. As a result, the spirit pulse technique was practically useless in a place like this. Xiaoxi, where the hell are you? He frowned, and his cloak, which was stained with blood, fluttered gently in the night wind. He walked alone in the dragon's tomb, as if he was a visitor from afar, admiring the majesty of the dragon clan. At this moment, in the north of the dragon's tomb, the team led by Qinin Chu and Feng Jixing was moving forward slowly. The dragon's tomb is about 200 kilometers away. Chu frowned and asked, "Your Highness, are you sure you want to enter the dragon's tomb?" In the night wind, Qin Yin's beautiful hair was a little messy, and her face was filled with fatigue. She was too tired. She only slept for about 4 hours a day after circling around the dragon forest. Although Feng Jixing, Chu, and the others suggested that they set up camp and rest at night, Qin Yin insisted on continuing the search. Fortunately, there was Chu, a sanctuary powerhouse, and Feng Jixing's method of making noise and scaring them, so the strength of the team was very intact. "Chu, we must find Xiaoxi." Qin Yin bit her rosy lips and murmured, "Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi has never needed me as much as she needs me now. I can't abandon her. Even if I lose my life in the dragon forest, I won't regret it." "Your Highness." Chu wanted to say something but stopped. "Chu, just say what you want to say." "It's fine," Qin Yin said softly. Chu cupped his fists and said, "Forgive me for being blunt, but the awakening of the nine-tailed fox demon in Princess Xi's body is a very unexpected thing. It's enough for your Highness to lead us to this place. To be frank, your Highness's life is much more important than Princess Xi's. Your life concerns the rise and fall of this mainland, and the fate of the people in the world. Are you really willing to disregard the world for Tang Xiaoxi?" Qin Yin suddenly stopped her horse in shock and stood there, her beautiful eyes filled with tears. After a long time, she lowered her head and rubbed away the tears in her eyes. She smiled and said, "The people in the world are important, but so is Xiaoxi. I'll treat it as Qin Yin being willful for once. This time, if I don't find Xiaoxi, I won't leave Lanyan City." Chu nodded in pain. "Yes, your Highness. I will follow your Highness." Feng Jixing held his wind cutter and pretended not to hear these words, but his eyes were full of praise. Perhaps only this kind of Qin Yin was worthy of his following. Dragon's Tomb. It was the dragon's tomb again. Everyone had finally arrived here. At dusk, Tang Bin led 150 Tang clansmen to the periphery of the dragon's tomb. They rode in directly. Tang Hao was experienced and sniffed the air. He said, "There's miasma here. Everyone, protect yourselves. Tie the horses outside the forest. Don't let them die in the miasma. Otherwise, our return time will be several times longer." Tang Bin nodded. "Yes." Just as they were tying the horses, a clansman suddenly pointed at a horse in the distance and said, That's Tang Ning's horse. Gosh, that demon Lin Muyu has also entered the dragon's tomb." Tang Bin's face was full of killing intent. "Let's go. This will be even easier. We'll take care of Lin Muyu while we're at it. Men, put poison arrows on your bows. If there's a chance, just call out." The group of clansmen nodded. Tang Bin also wanted to kill. Otherwise, he wouldn't be willing to use poison arrows. Although the Seven Seas City's poison was not unparalleled in the world, it could be considered famous. Firefoxes were originally a type of vicious beast, so the Tang clan was proficient in refining fire poison. Smearing fire poison on the arrowheads could cause the fire poison to attack the heart in a short period of time. If it was light, they would be unable to take care of themselves. If it was heavy, they would bleed from all 7 orifices and die. A large group of people entered the dragon's tomb in a grandiose manner. One by one, they summoned their martial spirits. However, most of them were not Firefox martial spirits. There were many types of martial spirits. In the entire Seven Seas Tang sect, there were only a few people who had comprehended the Firefox martial spirit. Tang Bin and Tang Xiaoxi were the best among them. It was also because of this that they were valued and doted on by Tang Lan. Tang Hao held a broadsword in his hand and calmly walked among the crowd. He raised his battle chi to resist the invasion of the miasma. He knew that the battle after entering the dragon's tomb would not be easy. His heart was in a mess and he didn't know what to do. At this time, Lin Muyu couldn't find Tang Xiaoxi after searching around. He could only light a bonfire and roast some cooked food to replenish his strength. Otherwise, if a strong enemy came, they wouldn't give him any time to eat. After eating half of the deer's leg, he patted his abdomen and felt very satisfied. The little dragon crouched beside him and ate the remaining half of the deer's leg. After that, it returned to the alternate space to sleep in satisfaction. In the blink of an eye, night fell. Lin Muyu stood up and continued to search in the jungle alone. He was very afraid that if he stopped, he wouldn't be able to help but think about whether Tang Xiaoxi was safe or whether Tang Xiaoxi had encountered an accident. The bright moonlight shone on the ground of the dragon's tomb, reflecting a silver radiance on the piles of dragon bones. Under the skeleton of a silver dragon, a beautiful girl was curled up. She was wearing simple clothes, but the clothes were not very suitable because behind her, a fiery red tail was flying up and dancing restlessly. Fortunately, after so many days, although Tang Xiaoxi didn't know how to change back to her original appearance, she at least learned how to control the flame force in her body. Therefore, all the flame force in her body was contained, so it wouldn't burst out and burn the clothes that she had painstakingly stolen. A pair of starry eyes looked at the bright moon in the sky. Tang Xiaoxi suddenly remembered the first time she came to the dragon's tomb. At that time, Lin Muyu and Qin Yin were by her side. Apart from Tang Lan, these two were almost the most important people to Tang Xiaoxi. Her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly. She murmured, "Mu Xiaoyin, where are you? Will I see you again in the future?" But, in a puddle not far in front of her, she saw her own reflection. 9 fiery tails lightly danced. Although it was extremely seductive, how could she see Lin Muyu and Qin Yin like this? Feeling extremely wronged, Tang Xiaoxi hugged her knees and couldn't help but sob softly. The fox ears on the sides of her head trembled slightly, and the gently swaying fiery tail behind her seemed to be reminding Tang Xiaoxi of her true identity. After an unknown amount of time, suddenly, a torch swayed in the distance, and a voice came with the wind. "Young master, look. There is a faint flame coming from the direction of the dragon bones. Let's go and take a look." "Yes." Chapter 275. When Tang Xiaoxi heard the familiar voice from afar, she could not help but feel sad. She could finally vent all the grievances in her heart at this moment. She abruptly leapt off the dragon bones, her snow-white feet stepping on the fiery ripples as she sprinted towards the direction of the torch without touching the ground. The 9 flame tails behind her danced slowly due to the excitement of their master. "Brother!" The moment she rushed out of the forest, she already saw Tang Bin under the light of the torch. Tang Bin and the others abruptly turned around and also saw Tang Xiaoxi under the moonlight. She was still as imposing and beautiful as ever, but the swaying flame tail behind her was really too demonic. In addition to the faint flame energy circulating around her body, as well as that pair of beautiful pale golden eyes, in the eyes of Tang Bin and the others, this was not beauty, but a strange light that caused them to be terrified. "Kill the 9-tailed demon fox." Tang Bin suddenly opened his hand and directly used a Tianchong seal. Wang. A flame seal fell from the sky and directly fell on Tang Xiaoxi's head. But before the Tianchong seal could land, a golden seal rose from Tang Xiaoxi's body and smashed the Tianchong seal. Then, it turned into a golden seal in the air, as if it was protecting Tang Xiaoxi. Soul-subduing seal. Tang Bin was dumbfounded. The soul-suppressing seal was the Firefox seal's 8th-level ultimate art. He had painstakingly studied it for close to a year, and was still unable to catch a glimpse of it. But Tang Xiaoxi in front of him had actually already grasped the soul-suppressing seal. At this moment, Tang Bin's heart was in turmoil. Although the 9-tailed demon fox in front of him was Tang Xiaoxi in both voice and appearance, Tang Bin could not tolerate her anymore. Once Tang Xiaoxi, who had mastered the 8th level of the Firefox seal, returned to Qihai City, Tang Lan would not hesitate to transfer the inheritance of Qihai City to Tang Xiaoxi. "Did you hear me? Kill the 9-tailed demon fox. Don't let her harm the common people." Tang Bin shouted with a ferocious expression. The broadsword in Tang Hao's hand trembled slightly as he muttered, "Xiaoxi, is it Xiaoxi?" Tang Xiaoxi's delicate figure trembled as well, and her golden eyes looked towards Tang Hao as she said, "Uncle Hao, it's me, I'm Xiaoxi. Why do all of you want to kill me?" Tang Hao's eyes turned red. "Xiaoxi, Xiaoxi, didn't you hear my order?" Tang Bin roared and suddenly rushed out. The flames on his body soared and he roared, "This is not Xiaoxi. This is just a nine-tailed demon fox. Kill him for me." He opened his palm, and the power of the 5 elements surged. The 7th level of the Fire Fox Seal, Seal of 5 Energies. This was Tang Bin's strongest killing move. At this time he used 100% of his power. His desire to kill Tang Xiaoxi was evident. But Tang Xiaoxi stood there quietly. Her 9 flame tails swayed gently. She slowly raised her palm and a golden seal suddenly surged in her palm. It was the highest level of the Fire Fox Seal, the Seal of Samsara. Boom! Tang Bin's Seal of 5 Energies collapsed in an instant, like a wolf surrendering in front of a tiger. On the contrary, Tang Xiaoxi's Seal of Samsara enveloped Tang Bin. As long as Tang Xiaoxi exerted a little force, Tang Bin would be turned into ashes under the power of the seal. However, Tang Xiaoxi couldn't do it. The power of the Seal of Samsara dissipated as if it had never appeared. Woo! Tang Bin stood there trembling. His eyes showed not gratitude but killing intent. He shouted, "Tang Min, Tang Chong, Tang Qi, what are you waiting for? Shoot her for me." These people were Tang Bin's absolute confidants. They immediately raised their longbows and arrows flew out. As long as these arrows tempered with fire poison were shot into the body, the consequences would be unpredictable. Tang Hao hurriedly shouted, "Wait, young master. No, this is Xiaoxi. This is Xiaoxi." His eyes were full of tears, but how could he stop Tang Bin who had made up his mind to kill? Under the moonlight, Tang Xiaoxi gently turned around. Her 9 flame tails danced in the air, deflecting all the arrows. At the same time, the flame-fighting energy around her became more and more intense. She could have easily killed the group of people in front of her, but she couldn't do it. Many of these people were elders who watched her grow up. Many of these people were her clansmen who played with her when she was young. Clang! Tang Bin's eyes were cold as he raised his hand and pulled out the sword from the waist of the attendant. He leaped up and the blade shook and refracted 3 sword lights in the air, slashing towards Tang Xiaoxi. Bang bang bang! With 3 loud sounds, the flame tail's flame-profound energy easily blocked Tang Bin's attack. Tang Xiaoxi spread out her 5 fingers, and suddenly the golden mark of the soul-suppressing seal appeared in her palm. She lightly said, "Brother, don't force me to kill you." Tang Bin raised his sword and slashed down again as if he had gone mad. There are no demons in the Tang family. If you cherish the reputation of the Tang family, then die. Don't ruin the reputation of my 7 Seas Tang sect. Tang Xiaoxi smiled miserably. The soul-suppressing seal in her palm instantly dissipated and was replaced by a flame palm force. Bang! Tang Bin's body fell down. A few of his ribs had already been broken. He spat out a mouthful of blood, but he still struggled to crawl up. He gripped his sword tightly and said angrily, "Attack together and kill her. Otherwise, the Tang family will be consigned to eternal damnation." Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes were filled with despair as she muttered, "Don't force me." But a group of people still raised their spears and rushed over. The spears were suffused with true energy as they stabbed towards Tang Xiaoxi's body. These people from 7 Seas City had all gone crazy. "All of you die." Tang Xiaoxi suddenly leaped up, flames lingering around her body. Her body in the air aimed a soul-suppressing seal towards the ground. Boom! The powerful seal formed a shock wave. Immediately, a group of people retreated with blood flowing from their 7 apertures and died on the spot. She really is a demon. She really is a demon wearing a beautiful appearance. Tang Bin's face was pale. He pointed his sword at Tang Xiaoxi and laughed loudly. "The demon has revealed her true face. Kill her for me, kill her for me." Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Her smile was incomparably sorrowful. Her delicate body under the moonlight was especially pitiful. But Tang Bin and the others would not pity her. In the blink of an eye, another group of people rushed over with their swords and sabers. Arrows flew in the air. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth and used another 5 qi seal. In an instant, dozens of people died tragically. At the same time, Tang Xiaoxi's protective supreme force also slowly dissipated. Pooh! Her fragrant shoulder was suddenly struck by an arrow, causing blood to flow while a few traces of sword qi had appeared on her arm and abdomen. However, these injuries were nothing to Tang Xiaoxi. What truly caused her pain was Tang Bin's cruelty and heartlessness. It was the indifference of this older brother that had grown up with her since she was young. This pain was like a myriad of arrows piercing through her heart, causing her to be in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Enough! Enough! Tang Hao suddenly raised his arm and blocked in front of Tang Bin. He loudly said, "Young master, this is really Xiaoxi. How many more do we have to die before we are satisfied? Don't hurt her anymore." Tang Bin's eyes were cold. He slowly raised his palm. The star offering seal was enshrouded in his palm. "Uncle Hao, get out of the way. Otherwise, the next person to die will be you." Tang Hao slowly closed his eyes. Tears flowed out of his eyes. "I watched you all grow up. I really can't bear to see you all kill each other. Kill me. Don't let me see everything in front of me anymore." Buzz. Tang Bin's star offering seal came out. However, Tang Hao was safe and sound. When he opened his eyes, he saw Tang Xiaoxi standing in front of him, her 9 flaming tails dancing in a seductive manner. It was she who had blocked the star offering seal for him. Pooh! Tang Xiaoxi suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her clothes were tattered by the star offering seal. Half of her snow-white body was exposed. It was stained with blood. Many of the clan's disciples couldn't bear to look at it. "Brother." Tang Xiaoxi wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and suddenly smiled. She said in an incomparably calm voice, "If Xiaoxi obstructs your path, then you can kill Xiaoxi. You've always doted on Xiaoxi since she was young. Perhaps this is the ending I deserve." Saying this, Tang Xiaoxi slowly closed her beautiful eyes. She just stood there. "Young Master Tang Bin, don't." Tang Hao hurriedly shouted. But Tang Bin still limped forward with his sword. His sword was filled with fighting spirit. He planned to use this sword to pierce through Tang Xiaoxi's body and end everything. Just when everyone thought that Tang Xiaoxi was about to die, a golden light suddenly blossomed in the sky. A figure landed in front of Tang Xiaoxi, like lightning. The golden gourd martial spirit broke out of his body. The wall of the gourd blocked Tang Bin's attack. Almost at the same time, the sword in his hand cleanly swept through the air. Puff! Tang Bin retreated a few steps under the rebound of the strong fighting spirit. He couldn't help but reach out to touch his throat. There a huge cut was spewing blood. His entire throat was almost cut open by this sword. Lin Muyu's eyes were red and cold. The blood on the dragon spirit sword in her hand fell to the grass. She said in a cold voice, "I'm not a member of the Tang family. I don't mind killing this scum of the Tang sect." Tang Xiaoxi opened her eyes, but she ignored Tang Bin, who fell to the ground and died. Her eyes became soft. The back of Lin Muyu in front of her seemed to bring all comfort. Moo! Her tears burst out. Lin Muyu turned around and hugged her slender waist. She held her weak body in her arms. Her cold eyes were like a rapidly melting glacier. She smiled softly and said, "Xiaoxi, I'm sorry I'm late." "Not late, not late," Tang Xiaoxi cried. "As long as you're here, it's never late." At this time, a group of 7 Seas City clansmen woke up from the shock. One of them held a long sword and shouted angrily, "Lin Muyu, you actually killed the young master of 7 Seas City, Tang Bin. Do you know how big of a sin this is?" Lin Muyu looked up at him and said, "Before I decided to silence you, why didn't you get lost?" You. The group of 7 Seas City clansmen were dumbfounded. But looking at Tang Bin's body on the ground, they didn't dare to leave. How big of a sin was this? On the contrary, Tang Hao walked forward and picked up Tang Bin's body. He said, "Xiaoxi, I didn't expect things to develop to this point." Tang Xiaoxi nestled in Lin Muyu's arms. The gaze in her golden eyes was very soft. "Uncle Hao, take Tang Bin's body back to 7 Seas City. Tell Grandpa that Xiaoxi has wronged him." Tang Hao nodded. "And then you're on your own." Chapter 276. The figures of Tang Hao and the others gradually disappeared into the jungle. Lin Muyu was still holding Tang Xiaoxi in his arms. Looking at the wounds all over her body, he couldn't help but feel a burst of heartache. With a leap, he landed on the dragon bones above and placed Tang Xiaoxi on the smooth dragon bones. Then he took out some healing medicine and applied it to every wound on her. Tang Xiaoxi lay quietly in his arms with a faint smile on her lips. Ever since the demon fox in her body had awakened, Tang Xiaoxi had never been as calm as this moment. It was as if as long as Lin Muyu was by her side, she was not afraid of anything. After applying the medicine, Lin Muyu helped her up and sat her in front of him. Using the spirit pulse technique, he sensed the powerful strength in Tang Xiaoxi's body. He couldn't help but frown and say, "Xiaoxi, I'm afraid you're stronger than me now. Why don't you resist and let Tang Bin kill you?" A trace of depression flashed across Tang Xiaoxi's face as she said faintly, "I've already become like this. Do I still want to kill and harm people? This is to protect yourself, not harm people. Is that so?" Tang Xiaoxi blinked her golden eyes and looked deeply at Lin Muyu. She suddenly asked with a smile, "Mu, seeing me like this, don't you feel afraid at all? What's there to be afraid of?" Lin Muyu smiled and reached out to caress her fox ears. She said with a smile, "You look cute like this." Tang Xiaoxi was silent for a while and asked, "Won't you dislike me like this?" "No." Lin Muyu comforted her. "Xiaoxi, I've told you before that I come from another world with a different civilization. In our world, if anyone could have a girlfriend like you, they would definitely be envied to death. Because everyone would say that there's nothing to be proud of about what kind of girl you've hooked up with. I've hooked up with a beautiful nine-tailed demon fox. Everyone would be envious of me." "Really?" Tang Xiaoxi looked at her with a smile through her tears. "Of course." Lin Muyu's gaze landed on the 9 flame tails behind Tang Xiaoxi. "It's just that with so many tails, it's a bit troublesome." "What's the trouble?" Tang Xiaoxi asked with a smile. "Well," Lin Muyu pondered for a moment and said, "if I marry you in the future, I'm afraid I can't use the position where you are on the bottom. This will press down on my tail." Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned completely red. "Stinky Mu, you're still making fun of me at this time." Seeing her smile, Lin Muyu was relieved. However, after a few seconds, Tang Xiaoxi blushed and whispered, "It's okay, I can be up there." Lin Muyu was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu came back with some dry firewood and started a bonfire in the pit of the dragon bones. Then, she took out the rabbit she had hunted a few days ago from her universe bag and roasted it over the fire. Not long after, oil splashed into the fire, and a fragrant smell filled the air. Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes stared at the delicious food. It seemed like she hadn't eaten something decent in many days. "Are you cold?" Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi. She was only wearing a badly damaged village woman's clothes, so a large portion of her body was exposed. It was alluring, but it would definitely be very cold in early spring. Thus, Lin Muyu reached out and tore off the holy temple cloak behind her and thoughtfully covered Tang Xiaoxi with it. Then, she took out a small magic noise knife and skillfully cut off a large piece of rabbit leg meat from the rabbit and handed it to Tang Xiaoxi. She smiled and said, Eat more." "Okay." Tang Xiaoxi took the piece of meat and took a small bite. After her appetite was stimulated, she began to eat in large mouthfuls. She was indeed starving. Lin Muyu could even imagine Tang Xiaoxi drinking water by the river in the form of a little fox. Lin Muyu instantly felt her heart ache. "Eat slowly, it's all yours," he said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi's face reddened. "Do I really have that much of an appetite? It's okay, I'll roast another one." Lin Muyu smiled and took out a wild boar's leg from her cosmos sack. This boar's leg was almost dried up in the cosmos sack's alternate dimension. She skewered it with a thick branch and placed it over the fire to roast. At this moment, she heard a howling sound. A catasaurus seemed to be protesting. Everyone had something to eat, but it was the only one who had nothing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She suddenly opened her hand and used her 4-dimensional power to create a crack in space 10 meters away. A catasaurus immediately came out and saw everything in front of it. It howled a few times at the pile of dragon bones. It was probably out of respect and mourning for its own kind. It turned around and immediately scuttled up the spine of the dragon bones. When the little dragon saw Tang Xiaoxi, it didn't have any fear. It howled and pounced into Tang Xiaoxi's arms. It stuck out its soft tongue and licked Tang Xiaoxi's palm. This was the nature of the dragon race. Acatosaurus, a high-level dragon race, could distinguish the aura of humans. Therefore it was still so intimate with Tang Xiaoxi. This was enough to prove that Tang Xiaoxi was still Princess Shi. The only difference was that her strength and form had changed. Little Apple, Tang Xiaoxi hugged Acatosaurus's silly head, and was extremely happy. I thought I would never see you again. I didn't expect you to appear again. Hee hee. Acatosaurus naturally hugged the princess's arm and kept acting coquettishly. Lin Muyu quickly pulled it back by its tail, and gave it a raw boar leg. She said, "Eat at the side." "Umph. How dare you steal my benefits?" Tang Xiaoxi opened her golden eyes wide and asked with a smile, "What benefits?" Lin Muyu's gaze fell on her snow-white breasts that were vaguely visible under her clothes. She said, "What do you think?" Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but blush. "Mu is a big pervert." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She continued to pour oil and seasoning on the boar leg. She said, "Xiaoxi, how do you feel after transforming into a nine-tailed fox demon? Can you control this power?" "I don't know." Tang Xiaoxi was a little sad. She said, "That night, I suddenly cultivated the God Concentration Seal, the 5-Qi Seal, the Soul Suppression Seal, and the Reincarnation Seal. It was as if something in my body had awakened. The power of the Law of Fire was extremely strong. Then, I became like this. My ears disappeared and became fox ears. Behind me, I also grew 9 flame tails. I became neither human nor ghost." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Actually, from my aesthetic point of view, you look very good now. Really. If you come with me to our world, you will definitely be very popular." "Really?" Tang Xiaoxi giggled. "Then consider this a promise. You have to bring me home." "Okay." But at this moment, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly became a little dejected. She said faintly, "My appearance. I don't know how my family is. If Grandpa really saw me like this, he would definitely be very sad. I'm afraid I won't be able to see Grandpa in this life." Lin Muyu didn't think too much about it. She added some firewood and comforted her. "Wait until we return to Lanyan City and see Chu and Great Deacon Lei Hong. They are experienced and knowledgeable. Maybe they will know how to dissolve the power in your body and let you return to your original appearance. After you return to your original state, I can accompany you back to Qihai City to see Duke Lan." "Accompany me?" Tang Xiaoxi moved her red lips and said, "I'm afraid that's already very difficult. Mu, you killed cousin Tangbin in order to save me. Once Grandpa knows about this, he will definitely not let it go. In our generation, none of our fathers comprehended the Fire Fox martial soul. But in our generation, there are quite a few who have awakened the Fire Fox martial soul. Brother Tangbin is the strongest and the most talented among all the juniors. Grandpa favors him greatly, and even made him the young master of the Tang sect. This time you killed Brother Tangbin. Grandpa will definitely not let it go. Let's wait until I return to Qihai City alone, and appease Grandpa." You have the final say." Lin Muyu shook the branch and roasted the other side of the wild boar's leg. Instantly, drops of oil dripped into the fire, making a sizzling sound. His brows furrowed tightly. That's right, he had to kill Tangbin in order to save Tang Xiaoxi. This was no small matter. Now that Tangbin was dead, Tang Lan would definitely vent his anger on him. And he was Qin Jin's adopted son. Perhaps Tang Lan would vent his anger on the monarch. In that case, he would have killed one person, but he would have harmed tens of thousands of people. For now, he could only hope that Tang Lan would calm down a little, and not do something rash to mobilize the army just for the sake of Tang Bin. After a while, Acatosaurus consecutively ate a few wild boar legs, and laid down lazily to the side, snoring. The way it slept could be said that it did not have the majesty of the dragon race at all. Lin Muyu began to cut the meat from the wild boar leg to feed Tang Xiaoxi. Not long after, Princess Shi was once again amused by her sweetheart who spoke in a weird manner. Although Xiaoxi was a princess, the people in this world were conservative and serious. Lin Muyu's unruly and carefree attitude was undoubtedly the most fatal blow to the hearts of the young ladies in this world. Because there was no tent, after they ate and drank their fill, Tang Xiaoxi nestled in Lin Muyu's arms and fell asleep sweetly. The flames of the bonfire danced lightly at the side. Lin Muyu looked at Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful sleeping face and wondered how long it had been since she had slept so peacefully. He could not help but feel his heart ache. It was destined that he would not be able to sleep tonight. No one knew how many dangers there were in the dragon's tomb. Fortunately, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi's strength had improved by leaps and bounds. Even if they encountered a 10,000-year-old spiritual beast, they might not be at a disadvantage. It was a sleepless night. The next day, dew sprinkled all over the dragon's tomb. The warm sunlight pierced through the forest, casting mottled shadows on the dragon bones. At this time, the little dragon woke up. It opened its eyes and arched itself on Lin Muyu's arm. It let out a cry, indicating to its master that it was hungry again. Lin Muyu could not help but secretly scold this fellow for being a glutton. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi also opened her eyes. A pair of golden eyes looked at Lin Muyu without hiding the longing in them. She smiled and said, "Mu, what should we do now?" "Leave the dragon's tomb and secretly return to Lanyan City." "Okay." Chapter 277. Early in the morning, Lin Muyu left the dragon's necropolis while bathing in the warm sunlight. She actually found that warhorse in the forest outside the dragon's necropolis. It seemed like Tang Hao had left it behind for her. Lin Muyu was very grateful. Actually, Tang Hao was a good person, but he had followed the wrong person. If he had continued to follow Tang Bin, he probably wouldn't have been a good person. Luckily, she had killed Tang Bin with a single strike of her sword. Lin Muyu flipped onto the horse and reached out to pull Tang Xiaoxi up into his arms. However, Tang Xiaoxi's 9 fiery tails really blocked her vision. Luckily, Tang Xiaoxi was smart. She stuck out her tongue and sat on the horse, letting her fiery tails hang down beside the horse's belly, so that it wouldn't affect Lin Muyu's galloping. However, this way, she could only hug Lin Muyu's waist and lean on him tightly. Taking out the map scroll, Lin Muyu glanced at it, then looked at the sun to confirm the direction. He then urged the horse forward. The warhorse had eaten grass in the forest for an entire night, so it had enough legs. With a long neigh, it charged forward. They had to reach Lanyan City as soon as possible. Otherwise, Qin Jin, Qin Yin, and the others would definitely be very worried. However, Lin Muyu didn't know that after he left, Qin Yin, Chu Chu, Zhen Yifan, and the others had all come to the dragon's necropolis. This part of the dragon's necropolis was very lively. They hadn't traveled far when the auras of experts suddenly appeared in the spirit pulse technique. Instantly, Lin Muyu couldn't help but tremble. She hurriedly turned the horse around and ran into the forest. However, it was already too late. One of the enemy's scouts galloped over and shouted, "Brat, don't run. I've already seen you." Looking at the insignia on this person's shoulder, he was from the Divine Might Battalion. Behind him was a group of cavalry galloping over, and Zhen Yifan was among them. Lin Muyu couldn't help but groan inwardly. They had just left the dragon's tomb, and they had already run into the Divine Might Battalion. Truly, misfortune never comes alone. Zheng Yifan spurred his horse forward. His gaze swept across Lin Muyu, then landed on Tang Xiaoxi. Looking at Tang Xiaoxi's fox ears and fiery tail, he couldn't help but smile and say, "I originally thought that the 9-tailed demon fox was just a legend, but now it seems like it's true. Princess Shi, are you really Princess Shi?" Tang Xiaoxi jumped down from Lin Muyu's arms and landed lightly on the grass. Her snow-white feet stepped on the ripples of flames as she floated in the air. The 9 tails of flames behind her swayed gently. She bowed like a lady of the empire and smiled. "Greetings to the Marquis. Tang Xiaoxi greets you." Zheng Yifan hastily got off his horse and cupped his fists. "You're too kind, Princess." Zheng Yifan greets Princess Shi. On the side, Sikong Nan's palm was pressed on the hilt of his sword. Behind him, many of the Divine Might Battalion's men also had their swords drawn and were ready to fight at any time. Although Zheng Yifan's expression was respectful, the Divine Might Battalion's true stance was the people behind him, right? Lin Muyu flicked her wrist and took off the dragon spirit sword from her back. She buckled it at her waist so that she could unsheath it at any time. She cupped her fists and smiled. I didn't expect Divine Marquis to come to the Dragon Forest as well. Zheng Yifan said. That's because His Majesty is concerned about Princess Xi's safety. As his subjects, we naturally can't just stand by and watch. It's our lifelong wish to die for His Majesty. What a lifelong wish. Lin Muyu laughed and said respectfully. Divine Marquis, I found Princess Xi. Please return. I'll bring Princess Xi safely back to Lanyan City. No, since I'm here coincidentally, why don't we protect Princess Xi back to the imperial capital? Zheng Yifan said with a smile. After all, it'll be safer if there are more people. Safety my ass. Lin Muyu cursed in her heart, but she couldn't refute Zheng Yifan's words. However, she really didn't want to travel with Zheng Yifan. It was the same as sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. At this moment, Sikongnan suddenly raised his voice. General Lin Muyu, I wonder if you've seen young Master Tangbin from Seven Seas City? Tangbin? Lin Muyu's heart trembled. She shook her head without hesitation. I haven't seen him. What a joke. If Zheng Yifan knew that she killed Tangbin, he would definitely use this as a pretext to make a fuss. By then, he would have even more reason to kill her and Tang Xiaoxi. It might even be possible that he would clean up Tanglan's family. Tang Xiaoxi bowed again and said with a smile. Divine Marquis, Xiaoxi has a presumptuous request. I wonder if Divine Marquis can fulfill Xiaoxi's wish. Zheng Yifan laughed. Princess Xi is too courteous. Please speak. Tang Xiaoxi blinked her golden eyes and said. Everyone in Lanyan City knows that the person Xiaoxi likes is the Emperor's godson, Lin Muyu. Now that I can finally be alone with Mu, I hope that Marquis can fulfill my wish and let me and Mu return to Lanyan City alone. This way we can go sightseeing and talk about love on the way. As she spoke, her face blushed. Even though she was lying, she still couldn't help but feel shy. Zheng Yifan was stunned. He didn't expect Tang Xiaoxi to be so straightforward. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart that beautiful girls in this era were indeed very open. Thinking back to when he was fighting in the north and south, he basically had to fight for women. Frowning, Zheng Yifan came up with an idea. He smiled and said, there are many dangers in the dragon-seeking forest, so Princess Xi's safety is the most important. Let's travel together. This way, even if we encounter some 10,000-year-old spiritual beasts, we can still avoid danger. What does Princess Xi think? Is the Marquis doubting Xiaoxi's strength? Tang Xiaoxi giggled and suddenly raised her left hand. Her palm shone with a golden light, and her whole body was enshrouded in flames. With a sudden shout, the soul-suppressing seal broke through the air. With a boom, a huge rock that was a few meters tall not far away was instantly turned into powder. Even the shockwave from the soul-suppressing seal smashed the surrounding trees into pieces. This kind of destructive power made Sikongnan and the other generals of the Divine Might Battalion dumbfounded. Everyone knew that Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation was not weak, but wasn't she a little too strong at this time? This kind of momentum was not inferior to the Holy Region at all. How is it? Does the Marquis still think that Xiaoxi doesn't have the ability to protect herself? Tang Xiaoxi smiled slightly. Zheng Yifan's expression was calm, but in his heart he was extremely shocked. Everyone said that the nine-tailed demon fox was a monster, but now it seemed that this monster was really too strong. It directly allowed Tang Xiaoxi, who was at the first level of the heaven realm, to have the cultivation of the Holy Region. This kind of leap in strength was really too shocking. At this time, just as Zheng Yifan was thinking about how to make Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu stay, another group of people suddenly galloped from the north, and their aura was very familiar. Lin Muyu turned around and saw a familiar figure at the forefront of this group of people. It was Qin Yin. Seeing Chu Chu beside Qin Yin, Lin Muyu immediately felt relieved. As long as Chu Chu was there, the fire palm could rule the universe, and Zheng Yifan had no chance of winning. In fact, Lin Muyu even felt that it was necessary to get rid of Zheng Yifan here, and now to avoid future troubles. However, this idea was too bold. Although Feng Jixing would definitely approve of it, Chu Chu was a loyal and honest person, so he would definitely not be willing to do so. Xiaoxi. Qin happily jumped off the horse and flew over. Xiaoyin. Tang Xiaoxi was also very happy. The two girls hugged each other in the air. Qin hugged her best friend tightly, while Tang Xiaoxi's 9 flame tails swayed gently, looking very excited. At the same time, she used her strength to control her body and safely landed with Qin. All right. Lin Muyu moved her hand away from the hilt of her sword and cupped her fists. Now that Her Highness, Chu and Feng Jixing are here, Xiaoxi's safety will definitely not be a problem. Divine Marquis, thank you for your concern. We will return to Lanyan City by ourselves. You should also be careful along the way. You are an important official of the Empire, so no accidents can happen to you. Zheng Yifan's expression was extremely ugly. He cupped his fists. In that case, I will return to Lanyan City with the Divine Might Battalion first. Your Highness, Princess Shi, please be careful along the way. Qin smiled and bowed. Then Xiaoyin will not see you off, Divine Marquis. At Zheng Yifan's command, the hundreds of Divine Might Battalion immediately turned around and returned the way they came. After a few days of galloping, they probably didn't expect this outcome. The spring wind brushed past them, but it didn't give them a sense of safety. Sikong Nan was furious. Marquis, are we going back empty-handed? Not empty-handed, of course. Zheng Yifan's lips curled into a smile. I have long known that Tang Bin wants to kill Tang Xiaoxi, and Lin Muyu will definitely protect Tang Xiaoxi, so there will be a fierce battle with Tang Bin. At that time, if Tang Bin can kill Lin Muyu, His Majesty will definitely vent his anger on Seven Seas City. If Lin Muyu kills Tang Bin, Tang Lan will definitely vent her anger on the imperial capital. No matter what, it's good for us. If Tang Xiaoxi's transformation into a 9-tailed fox demon can cause the alliance between Lanyan City and Seven Seas City to break, then this transformation is really great. Sikong Nan's eyes lit up. Marquis is wise. I have thought too little. Zheng Yifan glanced at him indifferently. No, your shortcoming is that you have done too little and thought too much. Sikong Nan was stunned and speechless. In the forest outside the dragon's tomb, Tang Xiaoxi and Qin rode side by side. Qin had a smile on her face. After so many days of worry, she could finally let go. Looking at Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes and fiery tail, she was actually a little envious. She pouted and said, Xiaoxi's eyes are really beautiful now. Is that so? Tang Xiaoxi was a little speechless. If you really have it, you will feel afraid instead. I won't be afraid. Qin said with a smile. Look, isn't Big Brother you also not afraid? Yes, Xiaoxi is still Xiaoxi. What's there to be afraid of? Lin Muyu said with a smile. On the side, Feng Jixing grinned and said mysteriously, Moreover, perhaps you will like Xiaoxi's current appearance even more. It's especially amorous, isn't it? Lin Muyu blushed. Big Brother Feng, don't talk nonsense. I'm not that kind of person. At this moment, Zhang Wei said something very inappropriate. I heard that the person Lin Muyu likes is Her Highness Yin, but it seems that she has a good relationship with Princess Shi. Could it be that the Lord wants to marry both of them? Oh my God, a princess and a princess, one adult and one child. This is really a blessing. I'm afraid this has never happened in the 7,000 years of history of the Empire. Qin and Tang Xiaoxi blushed at the same time and didn't know what to say. Lin Muyu was also silent. In fact, he also didn't know why. In short, he loved Qin deeply, but he also liked Tang Xiaoxi. Zhang Wei's words made him slightly moved, but he quickly overturned it. This world was changing too quickly. The only thing he wanted to do now was to stay by Qin and Tang Xiaoxi's side. He was already very satisfied to be able to accompany them. At this moment, Chu Chu rode his horse to Lin Muyu's side with a solemn expression and said, when we came here we met Tang Hao and the people from Seven Seas City. Did you kill Tang Bin? Chapter 278. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and calmly said, If I didn't kill Tang Bin at that moment, Xiaoxi would have died in Tang Bin's hands. AI. Chu Chu let out a long sigh and said, Even so, I'm afraid there would be a dispute. In the end, Tang Bin still died in your hands. Once Tang Hao and the others returned to Seven Seas City, I'm afraid this matter will spread. At that time, how should we resolve it? Qin Yin's bright eyes looked at Chu Chu and said, Tang Bin wanted to kill Xiaoxi. This matter can be said to be witnessed by everyone. As long as we explain it to Duke Lan, with Duke Lan's love for Xiaoxi, I'm sure he will understand. No. Chu Chu shook his head and said, if it was Xiaoxi who killed Tang Bin, perhaps Duke Lan will forgive Xiaoxi. After all, Xiaoxi was only protecting herself. But you killed Tang Bin. This cannot be forgiven. Think about it. What will Duke Lan think? Even if Tang Bin wanted to kill Xiaoxi, that is Seven Seas City's own matter. Why is it up to you, the foster son of the emperor, to act? Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but be afraid. What should we do? Chu Chu sighed and said, let's take one step at a time and see how His Majesty will rule on this matter. Your Highness and the princess must speak up for you in front of His Majesty. This way, His Majesty will not sacrifice the rook to protect the general. Sacrifice the rook to protect the general. Qin Yin's eyes widened. No, it won't happen. Father will not abandon brother you. Chu Chu smiled. Your Highness is deceiving yourself. It's not like you don't know His Majesty's character. Between the country and you, who is more important, do you still not understand? Qin Yin fell silent. At the side, Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu on the shoulder and said, don't worry, there'll always be a way. Chu's words are reasonable, but you should also understand that you're the foster son of the emperor and the strongest cultivator in the younger generation of Lanyan City. Moreover, you have such a good relationship with Xiaoyin. His Majesty needs you to protect his daughter, so he won't touch you. Chu Chu couldn't help but smile. General Feng's words are true. Lin Muyu changed the topic and asked, Chu, the power in Xiaoxi's body has awakened, so she transformed into the nine-tailed fox. I wonder if Chu has any way to restore Xiaoxi's body to its original state. Although we don't mind her current form, it really affects her normal life. Chu Chu nodded. I know very little about the legend of the nine-tailed fox. Even in the ancient books, there are very few records about it. In the long history of tens of thousands of years, every war means the loss of a civilization's ancient books. I'm afraid there's no one in this world who knows about the nine-tailed fox. We're the only ones who have seen the nine-tailed fox. Then what should we do? Lin Muyu was a little speechless. Qin Yin said, fortunately, Xiaoxi can now control the flame power in her body. As long as she puts on the cloak, no one will be able to tell anything. We can slowly think of a way. Well, that's the only way. Let's return to Lanyan City at full speed. The dragon-seeking forest is too dangerous. All right. 3 days later they returned to Lanyan City. It was silent in Zetian Palace. Qin Jin sat on the throne and watched as Chu Chu, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, and Tang Xiaoxi walked in side by side. Xiaoyin Chu, you're back. Qin Jin stood up excitedly and said, Xiaoxi is back too. It's good that she's fine, it's good that she's fine. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Qin Jin with her golden eyes and bowed like a lady, saying, Thank you for your concern, Your Imperial Majesty. Qin Jin looked into Tang Xiaoxi's eyes and felt a little uneasy. Qin Yin lifted the cloak on her head and said to the guards around her, All Imperial guards and attendants are to leave. I want to have a good talk with my father. You guys can just stand guard outside. Everyone cupped their fists together and said, Yes, Your Imperial Highness. After all the guards had left, Qin Jin nodded and said, That's enough. Xiaoxi, let us have a look at you. Tang Xiaoxi slowly lifted the cloak, and a beautiful face appeared in front of the emperor. However, a pair of fox ears glowed with a faint fiery luster and trembled slightly. She reached out to untie the belt in front of her chest, and the cloak fell to the ground with a whoosh. Immediately, 9 fiery tails swayed gently behind her. It was very beautiful. Huff! Qin Jin sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Tang Xiaoxi in shock. This was the legendary nine-tailed demon fox, but from the looks of it, it was still Tang Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi, that's enough. He waved his hand. Tang Xiaoxi put on the cloak again and lowered her head. She said quietly, I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, I've scared Your Imperial Majesty. It's fine. Qin Jin nodded and suddenly looked at Lin Muyu with a stern gaze. Lin Muyu, do you know your crime? Lin Muyu took a step forward and said, Imperial Father, what crime have I committed? Qin Jin's gaze was stern as he said, The news of you killing Duke Lan's eldest grandson Tang Bin has already spread throughout Lanyan City. Are you still going to feign ignorance? Men drag Lin Muyu away and behead her. Don't, Imperial Father. Qin Yin hurriedly knelt down. Tang Xiaoxi also knelt on the ground and said, Your Imperial Majesty, Lin Muyu had no choice but to kill Tang Bin in order to save my life. Your Imperial Majesty, please forgive her. If your Imperial Majesty blames Lin Muyu for this, then Tang Xiaoxi can only be punished for the same crime. Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, Your Imperial Majesty, Lin Muyu killed someone in order to save his life. It's pardonable and not deserving of death. This old man also thinks that your Imperial Majesty should spare Lin Muyu's life. Qin Jin said calmly, Lin Muyu, since ancient times, murder must be paid with one's life. Moreover, the person you killed was Tang Bin, the first-in-line successor to Seven Seas City. If we want to punish you, do you have any objections? Lin Muyu raised his head to look at the pale-faced emperor and said, Your Imperial Majesty, please do as you wish. He was also vaguely displeased. Even though he knew that this was the emperor's way of doing things, Qin Jin had always referred to Qin Jin as his adopted son. Now that he had turned against him so mercilessly in the blink of an eye, he finally felt the coldness of the human heart. In this great hall, it was probably more about the mutual exploitation between the ruler and his official than the familial love between father and son. In the end, the emperor's adopted son was just an empty title. Looking at Lin Muyu's appearance, Qin Jin gritted his teeth and said, Fine, later. After the meeting is over, report to the imperial prison. You will be temporarily detained in the imperial prison to be tried again later. Yes. No matter how hard Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi begged, it was useless. Qin Jin had only promised not to kill Tang Bin, but he had not promised not to punish him. If he did not punish him, the special envoy from Seven Seas City in Lanyan City would probably have something to say about it. At this moment, a messenger flew in from outside. Your Imperial Majesty, urgent military news. Everyone was stunned. The country was at peace and the people were at peace. Where did this military news come from? Qin Jin raised his brows and said, Speak, where did this military news come from? The messenger said respectfully, Military news from Demon Subduing Pass in the west of Lanyan City. A day ago, a large number of demons from the west gathered at Demon Subduing Pass, and may attack at any time. It is said that the demons have mobilized more than 200,000 troops this time. What? Qin Jin stood up abruptly, anger on his face. The demons of the Forest of Infinity want to cause trouble again? Do they want to relive the scene of our army sweeping through the Forest of Infinity 20 years ago? Chu Chu cupped his fists and said, Your Imperial Majesty, the demons have been lying dormant in the Forest of Infinity for decades. Now that they have invaded again, they must be plotting something. We must send a famous general to defend Demon Subduing Pass. Otherwise, once Demon Subduing Pass is breached, the demon's army may arrive at Lanyan City at any time. At that time, I'm afraid everything will be too late. Qin Jin nodded. Who does Lord Chu Chu want to recommend? Lin Muyu. Chu Chu smiled slightly. It's time for him to gain some real experience. No, Lin Muyu is a criminal and cannot lead an army. Qin Jin's gaze was stern as he said, Men, send an order to the country protector General Yuan Xie to immediately set out for Demon Subduing Pass. We must stop these 200,000 demons in the west. Yes. A messenger said respectfully and turned to leave. Qin Jin said again, Demon Subduing Pass only has a measly 10,000 troops. It is not enough to contend against the demon's army. Send a letter to the Seven Seas and order Du Hai to dispatch 30,000 Tian Chong troops to reinforce Demon Subduing Pass. Yes. Another messenger accepted the order and left. The demons had not set foot in the Central Plains for 20 years. Now they were coming in a threatening manner, but Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others did not feel much fear. This was because when the demons last appeared in the Central Plains, they had not yet been born. However, Chu Chu understood the demon's power. He cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, forgive me for speaking bluntly. 40,000 troops still cannot stop the demon's attack. At least 150,000 elites are needed to stop them. We know. Qin Jin nodded and said, however, there are only so many troops that can be dispatched within the imperial capital. Songnan Province, Tianshu Province, and Yunzhong Province are too far away, so it is inconvenient to dispatch troops. Only Qihai Province is the closest to the imperial capital. The army can arrive within 3 days, but that brat you just killed Tang Bin. How can Duke Lan dispatch troops to reinforce the imperial capital? Tang Xiaoxi raised her head and said, Your Majesty, if there is a need, Xiaoxi is willing to personally make a trip to Qihai City and beg grandfather to dispatch troops to reinforce demon subduing pass. That is all we can do. We will have to trouble Xiaoxi then. Qin Jin sat on the throne and said, Elder Chu, accompany Xiaoxi to Seven Seas City. You must invite the 10,000-strong army of Seven Seas City. Otherwise, we can only use the Flying Mount Battalion and the Imperial Guards to defend against the demonic race. Yes, Your Majesty, rest assured. Chu and Tang Xiaoxi turned and left. Tang Xiaoxi looked back at Lin Muyu reluctantly and said, Mu, you must be well and wait for my return. Lin Muyu nodded and did not speak. After the meeting, the protector of the state, Yuan Xia, personally led the official guard to Demon Subduing Pass to command the war. Lin Muyu was escorted to the imperial prison by 2 imperial guards. It was the first time he experienced the imperial prison of Lanyan City, so it was naturally a particularly refreshing feeling. Fortunately, the imperial prison was guarded by the imperial guard. Although Lin Muyu had been sent to the imperial prison, he still had his rank, so the prison guards were extraordinarily courteous. Moreover, at night, Qinin personally came to visit him and brought him a lot of delicious food. This treatment was not at all like being in a prison, but more like being on vacation in the imperial prison. Moreover, he was accompanied by the beautiful princess, which no one else could envy. Chapter 279. Starlight shone through the prison cell's iron window. Lin Muyu sat quietly on the bed made of straw. Streams of dark force circulated around his body. The forging dragon bone remnant scroll was constantly tempering his body. Now the strength of his bones and blood vessels had long surpassed Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying, Qin Lei and the others who were also at the second level of the heaven realm. This was the magic of the forging dragon bone remnant scroll. After circulating it for a full cycle, he slowly exhaled and looked up at the starlight outside the window. He could not help but wonder where Tang Xiaoxi and Chu were now. They had traveled day and night. They should be able to reach Seven Seas City in at most 2 days, right? At this moment, the 7 luminaries demon emperor who had been dormant in the depths of Yihai for a long time suddenly spoke. Lin Ruoji say, how did you end up like this? Sai, I really don't know what to say about you. Lin Muyu leaned against the window and smiled. What's wrong? As the emperor's godson, you were actually thrown into prison. Moreover, you killed Tang Bin to save your beloved woman. What crime did you commit? The 7 luminaries demon emperor said indignantly, if I had my temper back then, I would have broken the prison with one palm and gone straight to Dragon Rocky Mountain. You have 20,000 elites like the Longdan army camp. Who do you need to be afraid of? Kill your way to Songnan province, trick them into opening the city gates, threaten the provincial governor Si Kongfan, take away his military power, and force your way to Tianshu province. With your ability, you can take down Tianshu province within 7 days, then take over the Portongtian province. After that, you can rest and recuperate for 2 years, cross the Qinling Mountains and conquer the 4 big provinces in the south. After that, you can counterattack Lanyan City and proclaim yourself as the emperor. The world will be yours. You won't have to stay in prison so bitterly. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes. Demon Emperor, your plan sounds even better than a song. Unfortunately, it is full of mistakes, and if you do this, how many people will die? What are the dead afraid of? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor laughed coldly. I was born to be a king. Whoever makes me feel wronged, I'll turn them into ashes. Let me tell you, kid, if you want others to respect you, you must first make them fear you. If you can't even do that, what right do you have to protect the people you care about? What right do you have to make others follow your will? Lin Muyu agreed. I've known you for so long. What you said makes sense, but it's too arrogant. I'm arrogant? Ha ha ha. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was laughing so hard that he was about to cry. I only said what I could do. This is called arrogance. If you want to talk about arrogance, you actually dared to challenge a holy domain like Xian Yifan when you were as weak as a chicken. You're the King arrogant one. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call you the world's #1 madman. You're mocking me again. I'm mocking you. The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed heartlessly. Lin Muyu slammed the table and said, I've already gotten to this point and you're still mocking me. We share the same high after all. Can't you have some sympathy for me? The 7 luminaries demon emperor laughed loudly. Sympathy? I've never sympathized with the weak. I only respect the strong. If you can start a rebellion, destroy Cloud Province, 7 Seas Province, and make the world submit to you, I'll respect you. Otherwise, you're not worthy. Lin Muyu laughed. Demon Emperor, you've made the world submit to you before, right? In the end, you didn't even have a body. Did others respect you? In the end, did you even have half a person who loved you? The 7 luminaries demon emperor was stunned. After a few seconds of silence, he said, Lin Ruoji, you really don't know how to chat. I'm going to sleep. Lin Muyu threw a tantrum and buried her head in sleep. 10 days later, amidst the sound of the chains being unlocked, there was a whiff of the fragrance of wine. Feng Jixing came over with a bottle of fine wine. He was dressed in a handsome Imperial Army commander's armor. It was a huge contrast to Lin Muyu, who was dressed in black. Aha, you brother Feng is here to see you. Feng Jixing held the wine jug and ordered the servants to put down a few delicacies. Let's have a good drink to celebrate your release from prison. Release from prison? Lin Muyu was stunned. What do you mean? Has His Majesty decided to pardon me? Dream on. Feng Jixing glanced at him and said, His Majesty locked you up for Duke Lan to see. If Duke Lan doesn't relent, do you think His Majesty will let you out? But now there is a chance to get out. What do you mean? You know about the battle at Demon Subduing Pass, right? And the 7 Seas City sent out troops and sent 100,000 troops to reinforce Demon Subduing Pass. His Majesty used Yuan Xie as the commander, and a total of 140,000 elites were defending Demon Subduing Pass against the 200,000 monster race troops. But just 2 hours ago, Yushu flew to Lanyan City. Yuan Xie's troops were defeated and fell into the monster race's trap. Almost none of the 70,000 people who went out to kill the enemy returned. All of them died in battle, and even the vanguard general died in battle. Lin Muyu frowned. What good thing is this? Feng Jixing smiled. Yuan Xie is old and useless. Moreover, he is obstinate and self-opinionated. Among the many generals in Lanyan City, I, Feng Jixing, need to guard the Imperial City. Chu Huaying needs to stay in the Flying Mount camp to continue training this army that originally didn't belong to His Majesty. Qin Lei, this fellow, is brave but not astute. Only you, Lin Muyu, displayed outstanding strategy in the battle with Long Qianlin on Fire Axe Mountain, so the Battle of Demon Subduing Pass must be ended by you. It won't take more than 3 days for His Majesty's Imperial Edict of Appointment to arrive at the Sky Prison. Lin Muyu also smiled. Big brother Feng, drink, haha. Ha ha ha, drink. As Feng Jixing had expected, the next day, an attendant brought the Emperor's Imperial Edict into Lin Muyu's Sky Prison and brought her back to Zetian Palace Hall. At this time, there were many officials standing in Zetian Palace Hall. At least 100 important officials were watching this godson of the Emperor walk in step by step. Lin Muyu had already changed into the attire of a divine temple deacon. Tang Xiaoxi had returned and was standing beside Chu Chu. She stuck out her tongue at Lin Muyu and smiled. Greetings, Your Majesty. Lin Muyu didn't even preface her tone. She directly performed an empire's military salute to Qin Jin. There was no need to mention kneeling on both knees as a subject. Qin Jin frowned and said, The matter of you accidentally killing young Master Tang Bin. Duke Lan has already agreed not to pursue it for now. Now that Demon Subduing Pass is in a bloody battle, the Empire needs people. We have decided to appoint you as the commander of the frontline army. You will lead 700 men from the Eagle Nest camp to Demon Subduing Pass and take over the command of General Yuwenxia. Are you willing? Lin Muyu nodded. Yes. Someone bring the tiger tally, Qin Jin said loudly. An attendant brought an embroidered box in front of Lin Muyu. Inside the box was a golden tiger tally, which was different from the dragon talisman. There was also an imperial edict to the side. That was his letter of appointment. Only with this imperial edict could he take over military power from Yuwenxia's hands. Qin Jin looked at him from afar and said, "You go and make up for your mistakes with your merits. If you didn't defeat the demon army, then you don't need to return to Lanyan City. What other requests do you have?" Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Your Majesty, I've never seen a demon before, and I've never commanded an army of 100,000. Therefore, can you please assign me a veteran general who has experienced war as my assistant general, so that he can remind me at all times?" The corner of Qin Jin's mouth rose. Which old general is willing to go into battle with the army? Everyone in the crowd was silent. Zheng Yifun's face was ashen. The group of God Might battalion generals behind him were also silent. At this time, they naturally wouldn't help Lin Muyu. At this time, an old general with white hair and a white beard walked out of the crowd. He cupped his hands and said, "This old subject Su Ying is willing to assist the young general." Qin Jin smiled. "That's good. General Su is already close to 70 years old, but you are still as sharp as ever. It couldn't be better to have you accompany you to battle. Remember to take care of our son. He is our only son." Su Ying cupped his hands. "Yes, Your Majesty." The insignia on Su Ying's collar was a purple flower with one gold star. This was the rank of Lieutenant General and Chiliarch. It turned out that this old general's rank was even lower than Lin Muyu's. However, at this time, 2 attendants walked up and replaced Lin Muyu's insignia with 3 gold stars. This was the rank of commander. They also replaced Su Ying's insignia with 2 gold stars. This was the rank of captaincy. This was the only way to intimidate the army's morale. There wasn't much preparation. Su Ying only brought 50 of his personal guards. Lin Muyu gathered 700 people from the Eagle Nest Battalion and set off in the afternoon with the Emperor's imperial edict. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, and Chu Huaying escorted them all the way to the north gate of Swallow Orchid City. War is not child's play. Listen to General Su Ying's words." Feng Jixing patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and smiled. Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, I will." Qin Yin's face was full of worry. She reached out to pull Lin Muyu's reins and said, "Brother Yu, legend has it that the demon race is very cruel and fierce. You must be careful." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "Don't worry. Mu will definitely come back to see us in one piece. Isn't that right, Mu?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and smiled brightly. "Princess Xiao Yin and Princess Xiao Shi, please don't worry. Although I don't know what the demon race is like, I won't lose. Trust me." "Yes." The 2 girls raised their heads. Su Ying said, "General, it's time for us to set off. The war is urgent. We can't afford to be sentimental." Wei Chou laughed. "Yes, sir. It's time for us to set off. Our brothers are all waiting to kill the demon race. Moreover, we all want to see what the legendary demon race is like. Yes, let's go." The demon race was a huge race that lived in the endless forest in the west of the empire. It was said that there were more than 1 million demon race members, but only about 30% of them could fight. However, the demon race's armor and weapons were very simple and crude. They mostly used their primitive abilities to fight, so their battle strength was not very strong. This was also the reason why Qin Jin had not mobilized the entire empire's military to fight against the demon race. The demon race had at most 300,000 soldiers, but the human army definitely had more than 1 million soldiers. Chapter 280. A day and a night later, Lin Muyu, Su Ying, Wei Chou, and the others arrived at Yao Subduing Pass. From a distance, they could see smoke rising from the pass, and soldiers were constantly moving supplies to and fro. The main camp of the Imperial Army was within the pass. At this time, the gates were wide open, and a group of heavy cavalry charged out, spears in hand. Is it Lady Lin Muyu? A blood-stained cavalryman asked respectfully. Lin Muyu nodded. Yes, it is us. How is the situation? The cavalryman wiped the blood from his face. These demons seem to be attacking like crazy. This is the second attack today, and the casualties among the Imperial soldiers are very high. The commander of the vanguard, Yuanxia, is waiting to hand over military authority to Milord. Please follow me. Amen. They galloped into the city. The moment they entered the pass, they heard wails all over the ground. All of the Imperial Army's camps were set up inside the pass, and the entire camp was about to become a camp for wounded soldiers. Wounded soldiers who had not received treatment were everywhere. Not far away, there were at least 100 wounded soldiers lying on the ground, most of them wounded by arrows. A general drenched in blood ran back and forth with a long saber in his hand. He suddenly grabbed a logistician and shouted angrily, "Where are the medical officers? Where are the medical officers? Hurry up and treat my brothers." The logistician's face was ashen. General Tang, we really don't have enough medical officers. Where are the people from the spiritual medicine department? General Tang continued to ask. The logistician trembled with fear. More than 100 people from the spiritual medicine department went to the vanguard to treat the wounded soldiers of the Tianchong army first. Bullshit. General Tang sent him flying with a slap. The wounded soldiers of the Tianchong army are imperial soldiers, but are the wounded soldiers of our Qihai city not imperial soldiers? Why should we treat them first? General, this has nothing to do with this lowly one. It's General Yuanxia's order. At this time, Lin Muyu and the others had already arrived. Suing raised his eyebrows. Hey, what's going on here? General Tang scowled and said angrily. And who are you people? You're probably here for nothing. How dare you? Suing sternly said. We were sent by His Majesty to defend the demon-subduing pass. This is the former Commander-in-Chief, Lin Muyu. I am the Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Suing. Who are you? Lousy. I am 7C City's Deputy General Tang Zhen. Tang Zhen raised his head to look at Lin Muyu. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, he said, General, if you really are the Commander-in-Chief who has come to defend demon-subduing pass, please immediately order the military doctors to treat my brothers. They won't last much longer. The archery of those dear demons is frighteningly accurate. Lin Muyu nodded. General Tang Zhen, there's no need to say anything. A doctor will be here soon. Thank you, General. Come with me. Yes. The Central Army tent was at the heart of demon-subduing pass, and was surrounded and protected by layers upon layers of barracks. This pass that could garrison 20 soldiers truly lived up to its reputation. At this time, everyone in the Central Army tent was frowning. General Yuanxia's face was ashen, his armor broken as he sat there. Beside him was his son, Yuan Lian. In this battle, the Imperial Army had suffered heavy losses. After Yuanxia returned to the Imperial capital, he most likely wouldn't be able to keep his position as General Yuanxia. Lin Muyu walked forward and took out the Imperial Edict. General Yuanxia, I have come by His Majesty's Imperial Edict to defend demon-subduing pass. I order you to immediately lead your personal guards back to Lanyan City to hand over the edict. Yuanxia hurriedly stood up. His face was not as ostentatious as before. He cupped his hands and said, Young General, we have done our best, but the demons are too strong. Enough, no need to say more. His Majesty will make his own decision. Yes. Yuanxia handed over his tiger seal to Lin Muyu. He then led a group of personal guards out of the Central Army tent. Yuan Lian, on the other hand, was still in good armor. He glared fiercely at Lin Muyu and said, Now it's as you wish. The entire demon-subduing pass is yours. Just wait and see. Those demons will naturally teach you a lesson. Lin Muyu's gaze was ice-cold. She did not reply. Around them, a group of generals of captaincy rank sat dejectedly. Most of them were generals of 7C City. Without waiting for Lin Muyu to speak, a white-haired old general stood up and said, Young General, Yuanxia lost because he was too proud of his achievements. Moreover, he was too distant. He actually transferred the majority of the camp's medical officers to the Tianchong Army's camp to treat the wounded soldiers. Our Seven Seas City. In one night, over 1,000 soldiers from Seven Seas City died because they didn't receive treatment. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said, "Old General, don't worry. Someone sends 70% of the medical officers to the Seven Seas City's casualty camp. Go do it immediately." Yes. An employee of the spiritual medicine department cupped his fists and accepted the order. Instantly, all the captaincy of Seven Seas City cast praising gazes. Just an order had allowed Lin Muyu to quickly rally the morale of the Seven Seas City army. Although the news of Lin Muyu killing Tang Bin had already spread throughout the world, the majority of these generals of Seven Seas City were border generals. They had not even met Tang Bin once, so naturally they would not feel hatred towards Lin Muyu. At this time, a military supply officer said in a low voice, "Young General, our rations are seriously insufficient. This morning, the number of arrows was already less than 100,000. What's worse is the lack of medicine. The gold wound medicine and healing medicine have almost been used up. The news of Yu Shu returning to Lanyan City to request for medicine has been delayed." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "What's going on? It should be the spiritual medicine department supervising this matter. Why haven't the medicine arrived yet?" Suing narrowed his eyes and said with a smile, "It must be Minister Luo Xing's doing. His son Luo Bin is in charge of half the spiritual medicine department. Luo Xing and Yuan Xie have always been at odds, so he would delay the delivery of medicine to drag down the entire demon-subduing past battle situation." Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Immediately, all the captaincy stood up and cupped their fists, saying, "Young General, please give us justice. We, the soldiers, charge and break through the enemy lines, but the nobles of Lanyan City are enjoying fine wine and delicacies. They are not even willing to give us life-saving medicine. If that's the case, why are we still fighting? We might as well let the demon race pass through demon-subduing pass and slaughter Lanyan City." Lin Muyu hurriedly pacified the hearts of the people, saying, "Generals, don't be impatient. Don't worry, leave the matter of supplies and armaments to me." As he said this, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Wei Chou, immediately send a letter to the Imperial Guard Commander Feng Jixing Darren. Say that I asked him to help me supervise the supply of medicine, provisions, and weapons. It would be best if he could send Zhang Wei to personally deliver these goods. Tell him that these are life-saving goods." Wei Chou cupped his fists, saying, "Yes, Darren." Lin Muyu then looked at the crowd and said, "How is the situation at Demon Subduing Pass?" Tang Zhun's face was ashen as he said, "The military strength of the 5 main branches of the demon race has already appeared. They have gathered at least 200,000 troops and are unstoppable. If not for Demon Subduing Pass being sturdy, I'm afraid our camp would have long been breached." When General Yu Wenxie commanded the troops, he only looked at the sand table and commanded the battle. "Young General, are you the same?" Lin Muyu smiled and raised her hand to pick up the dragon spirit sword at the side, saying, "Wei Chou Suing, follow me to Demon Subduing Pass. I want to see with my own eyes how powerful these legendary demon race are." Tang Zhun was startled and hurriedly said, "Young General, be careful. The deer demon of the demon race is born with the ability to shoot a willow leaf 100 steps away. General, be careful of those stray arrows." "And got it." Suing frowned and said, "Men, form a shield battalion and protect the young general." "Yes." The stone steps leading to Demon Subduing Pass had been weathered and damaged. At this time, they were stained with blood, and the corpses of dead soldiers could be seen everywhere. Lin Muyu led Wei Chou in Suing up the city walls step by step. Behind the black battlements, rows upon rows of imperial soldiers were defending. Outside the city walls was an incomparably frightening scene. A densely packed demon race army was fiercely charging at the city walls. The main force of the attack was a group of people covered in scales. No, they were not humans because their lower bodies were long and black. They were twisting and turning madly, brandishing the spears and axes in their hands as they charged towards the walls of Demon Subduing Pass. Their faces were ferocious and their mouths were wide open, spitting out long tongues. Further away, there were demon race members with the upper bodies of beautiful women and the lower bodies of deer. They held longbows in their hands and aimed from afar at the soldiers on the city walls. With a whoosh whoosh sound they shot cold arrows. Their ability to shoot a willow leaf 100 steps away was not an exaggeration. With the sound of the bowstrings, soldiers on the city walls immediately fell. Suing looked coldly at the city walls and said, "The ones attacking the city are the snake men, a deformed race formed by the mating of humans and snakes. The ones shooting the arrows are the deer demons, the descendants of humans and deer. Among the 5 main branches of the demon race, the snake men are the most numerous and their battle strength is also the strongest. The deer demons have the most accurate archery, the bear demons are the strongest in strength, and the lizard men are the strongest at night. However, the true leader is still the half-fox demons." "Half-fox demons?" Lin Muyu frowned and said, "What are half-fox demons?" Half-fox demons are a group of demon race members with fox tails, fox ears, and a cunning nature. They are born with the ability to control fire, and among the 5 main branches of the demon race, their intelligence is the closest to that of humans. This time, the demon race has turned out in full force to attack Middle-earth. Humph, how despicable. Suing was a veteran general who had once followed Qin Jin to battle all over the world. He must have fought against the demon race before, and must have suffered greatly. Otherwise he wouldn't have such a deep hatred for them. A captaincy of the 7 Seas City's army said in a deep voice, "Young general, be careful. The deer demons are aiming at you." Lin Muyu turned around and saw a group of deer demons about 200 meters away aiming their arrows in her direction. These deer demons had already seen through Lin Muyu's identity and status, so they wanted to kill her. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The accurate arrows pierced through the air and arrived in the blink of an eye. Instantly, the group of human generals behind her were shocked. "Young general, be careful." The golden light shone brightly, and the walls of the gourd penetrated the body, transforming into a huge gourd with a radius of several meters, enveloping a small part of the city walls. Those arrows were all blocked with bangs, causing the group of generals behind her to be dumbfounded. Many of them were valiant generals who had been through many battles, but their true strength was far inferior to the divine temple staff who were proficient in cultivation like Lin Muyu. Chapter 281. Puffed puffed. 3 soldiers had their throats pierced and fell to the ground with blood gushing out of their mouths. They trembled for a few seconds before losing their lives and lying there motionless. "Damned deer demons." Suing gritted his teeth and said, "Men, bring me my bow." 2 personal guards immediately carried a huge bow made of pure iron over. The old General Suing suddenly pulled the bowstring and placed a specially made arrow about a meter long on the bow. In the blink of an eye, he shot it out. In the distant forest, a deer demon fell to the ground. The arrow pierced through her heart and nailed her to the rock behind her. "Good archery, old general." Lin Muyu couldn't help but cheer. Even Wei Chou couldn't help but feel his blood boil. "Old general's archery is godly, truly admirable." Suing smiled faintly. "You flatter me, Major General. Suing hasn't had any great achievements in this life. The only thing I've learned is my arm strength. With this iron bow, I've fulfilled my wish to defend the Empire's borders." Wei Chou also took out his demon-devouring bow and shot a few arrows consecutively, killing the few Nagas that were climbing at the edge of the city. He only shot at their eyes and necks where there were no scales. His archery skills were also extraordinary. Su Ying's eyes went wide as he looked at Wei Chou in a new light. Who would have thought there would be such an archery expert in the Imperial Guard? This old man is truly in awe. Lin Muyu's gaze was fixed on the densely packed demon army below the city. "Are they going to keep attacking?" "Yes," Tang Zhen said. "They use the snake men as shields, but the true killing force is the deer demons. Those repulsive deer demons have extremely accurate archery skills. Half of our soldiers who died in battle were killed by their arrows. Don't we have another way? Yes, let's go out and fight." Tang Zhen let out a bitter laugh, pointed to the distance and said, "Young general, look at that valley." When General Yuan Xie was in command, he ordered the army to leave the city to fight. It was in that valley that they were besieged by more than 150,000 demon clan soldiers. Unfortunately, Not a single one of our 70,000 soldiers survived. They were all buried outside the pass. Outside the city, the Naga army was still attacking fiercely. Many of the Nagas used iron hooks on their hands, and used the hooks to dig into the dilapidated outer walls of the demon-subduing pass. Step by step, they climbed up the walls until it looked like there were countless insects crawling on them. They were densely packed as they fiercely attacked the city. Wei Chou felt his scalp go numb. He said in a low voice, "Commander, if this goes on, I'm afraid the demon-subduing mountain pass won't last more than a few days." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said with a heart full of worries, "Let's go back to the main camp. Send more people to guard the city. We must not lose it." "Yes, young general." Returning to the main tent, everyone sat by the sand table with frowns on their faces. Lin Muyu was also silent, fiddling with the exquisite gold ornament on the hilt of the dragon spirit sword. Tang Jin cupped his fists and said, "Young general, being so passive will only cause more and more casualties and lower morale. Does the young general have a countermeasure?" "Not at the moment." Lin Muyu shook her head and her gaze fell on Suing. "Old General Su has dealt with the demon clan before. You should know how weak they are, right?" Suing said in a low voice, "Last time, when the demon clan's army of 300,000 invaded the Central Plains, it was Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan who used a stratagem to lure the demon clan army into open terrain. Then he used the Empire's 200,000 heavy cavalry to cut the demon clan army into pieces. But we don't have that many heavy cavalry right now, so this method won't work." Wei Chou looked at Lin Muyu and asked, "Old General Su has already said it. Commander, what are you thinking about?" Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I'm thinking that the demon clan's losses aren't small either. What do they want from us by risking their lives like this? If they want to conquer Lanyan City, their military strength isn't enough." A Tianchong captaincy gnashed his teeth. "These demons aren't humans to begin with. Who cares what they want? As soldiers of the Empire, the only thing we need to do is kill them all." Lin Muyu smiled. "That's true, but thanks to you and Xie, we don't have the strength to kill the hundreds of thousands of demon clan soldiers in front of us." "Then what does the young general think?" Suing asked. Lin Muyu lightly pressed the table and stood up. "Tomorrow we'll attack with fire. Create a line of fire under the city walls and force the half-fox people out. I want to talk to their leader directly." "What?" The Tianchong army captaincy was dumbfounded. "Young general, you want to talk to the demon clan? Aren't you afraid that they'll charge you with treason?" Lin Muyu smiled. "Let them be. I can't do anything about it." That night, 10,000 soldiers entered the forest behind the pass to cut down dead trees and collect black beech oil. The black beech oil was produced from the black beech tree and would ignite upon contact with fire. It was a natural fire material. Although there wasn't much, it was enough to start a fire. The cold night wind blew over demon-subduing pass. It was especially cold. A bright moon hung high in the sky. The Naga army finally retreated like a receding tide, but they were replaced by a group of lizard men. There were about 10,000 of them, and their brown eyes glowed with a golden light under the moonlight. Their tongues flickered as they held a shield in one hand and a shovel in the other. They quickly arrived at the bottom of the city wall and started digging with their shovels. "Damn it!" Suing stroked his white beard and coldly laughed. "This group of lizard men, are they trying to steal our people?" Lin Muyu used the moonlight to clearly see the appearance of the lizard men. That lizard head was extremely frightening, very frightening. But how could a head like that have any intelligence? She said, "The lizard men don't have this kind of intelligence. It must be the half-fox man commanding this battle." "Young general, what should we do?" Suing asked. "How deep is the foundation of demon-subduing pass?" "About 20 meters. "That's good. Let them dig. Tomorrow we'll fill it up with rolling stones." "Yes." The night was cold. Lin Muyu wrapped her cloak tightly around herself and gazed into the distance. The western border of the empire had built a great wall. It passed through the steep mountain ridges like a long dragon. This was probably the biggest reason why the demon clan could not advance east. Demon-subduing pass was located on the flattest part of this great wall, blocking the demon clan's invasion. You guys go back. I'll continue patrolling. Lin Muyu said. Yes, young general. Su Ying, Tangzhen, Wei Chou, and the others all returned to camp. Lin Muyu carried the dragon spirit sword and walked along the pass. After walking for a few li, she arrived at the top of the mountain ridge. Looking to the west, she saw a clear light. The endless forest was like an ocean breeding this group of demon clan. In fact, from Lin Muyu's point of view, this group of demon clan was more like half-beastmen. They were neither human nor beast, which was quite pitiful. But what did this group of demon clan want to do? Looking down at the distance between the wall and the ground, which was about 30 meters, Lin Muyu muttered to herself. She took a deep breath and looked at the surrounding guards. The guards also looked at her. Young general, you want to go west? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. Stand guard here and wait for my return. Don't act rashly. Yes. Leaping into the darkness, a faint golden light blossomed in the air. The gourd vines quickly wrapped around the city, reducing the impact that Lin Muyu received. However, jumping from a height of 30 meters was still a little scary. Her whole body rolled into the wild grass with a paw sound, and her knees hurt. She stood up with a whimper, sheathed the dragon spirit sword, and strode into the forest, disappearing from the sight of the group of guards in the blink of an eye. Not long after, the main camp of the demon clan was in front of her. However, there were very few lights in the camp. This was because the snake people, lizard men, and bear men were all afraid of fire. Only the half-fox and deer demons did not have a natural fear of fire. Lin Muyu walked carefully, avoiding the camp of a group of snake people. The fierce attack during the day had also resulted in many casualties. At this moment, they were receiving treatment. The treatment method was some medicinal herbs and ancient witchcraft. Lin Muyu really did not understand it. The camps of the demon clan were all over the forest, just like their way of life. Lin Muyu walked for nearly 5 kilometers, and finally, there was a dim light coming from the forest in front of her. When she got closer, she realized that there were actually tents here. Tents made of gray cloth were scattered all over the forest. Rustling sounds came from not far away, and a black shadow was slowly moving in the forest. Lin Muyu could not help but nervously hold on to her longsword, feeling her way along the way. Just as he was about to get close, Lin Muyu suddenly leaped forward, and with a twist of her martial spirit, numerous gourd vines rose from the ground, and in the blink of an eye, they wrapped around the black figure. Lin Muyu pounced forward and covered the other party's mouth. She drew her sword, and the blade of the sword, which was shrouded in flames, was placed on the other party's neck. She whispered, "Don't scream, or else I'll kill you." However, under the light of the dragon spirit sword, Lin Muyu saw that the person in front of her was a young girl. She looked a little coquettish, with a pair of fox ears on her head and a fluffy tail swaying behind her. She looked at Lin Muyu in horror and struggled with all her might, but she could not break free from the tough gourd vines. Lin Muyu was startled. She had never thought that the half-fox people would have women. However, thinking about it, how could they reproduce without women? She couldn't help but laugh at herself. "If you don't say anything, I'll let go of you. Otherwise I'll kill you," he said coldly. "If you agree, then your head is up." The half-fox girl quickly nodded her head, and Lin Muyu let go of her and asked, "Who are you?" The half-fox girl's eyes widened, and she said in an indistinct voice, I'm the Saintess Maid." "Saintess?" "And the endless forest fire god sex Saintess." Lin Muyu was at a loss, and said, "Tell me, the demon race has been dormant for several decades. Why did they suddenly attack the human empire?" A trace of panic flashed through the girl's eyes, and she shook her head. I can't say, or else I'll be betraying the Saintess." "Are you going to say it or not?" Lin Muyu's sword was pressed against her snow-white neck. The girl closed her eyes, and tears flowed down. Her tail swayed back and forth, and her ears trembled. She cried and said, "Kill me, it's a pity that Hong Luo can no longer serve the Saintess. Truly unyielding." Lin Muyu sighed. Chapter 282. Then why did you come out so late at night? Lin Muyu changed the topic, and asked another question. The girl named Hong Luo had tears flowing down her face. She blinked her eyes at Lin Muyu and actually asked, "Who are you? Why should I tell you?" "Me." Lin Muyu smiled brightly. "Oh, I am hunting in the mountains." Hong Luo's eyes were red. "You're lying. The insignia on your collar is the insignia of a general of the Qin Empire. Moreover, there are so many stars. You must be a high-ranking official. You. Who are you?" "I am the one interrogating you, not you interrogating me." Lin Muyu's eyes turned cold as she said, "Speak, why did you leave the camp and come to the wilderness?" Hong Luo didn't say anything. Tears flowed down her face, but her hands moved behind her back as if she was hiding something. Lin Muyu lightly circulated her energy, and the gourd vine flipped over. The thing that Hong Luo was trying to hide in her sleeve fell onto the grass with a plop. Lin Muyu picked it up and saw that it was 2 remnant scrolls. On the top of the scrolls were the words Cosmic Seal. She couldn't understand the rest of the words. Lin Muyu was stunned. "What is this?" Hong Luo began to cry. "Give it back to me. Give it back to me." Her voice was too loud. The voice of the Yao came from the distance. "Who is it?" "There is someone in the forest. Let's go take a look." With a paw sound, Lin Muyu knocked Hong Luo out with a clean palm strike and placed the cosmic seal into his cosmos sack. Then he picked up Hong Luo and activated the falling star steps, heading straight for the city pass. In less than 10 minutes, he arrived at the place he had come from. With a low shout, the gourd vine flew up and wrapped around the stone walls, bringing him quickly to the top of the city wall. The guards were startled. With the light of the torches, they saw that Lin Muyu had returned with a young fox girl. They couldn't help but laugh. "Young general has returned from hunting?" Lin Muyu was extremely embarrassed and didn't know how to explain. She said, "Pay attention to the surroundings." "Yes, young general." When he carried Hong Luo into the central tent, Wei Chou, Suing, Tang Zhen, Xiahou and the others had all arrived. Looking at Hong Luo lying on the bed, their gazes were all cold. Suing cupped his fists and said, "Young general, apart from the barracks concubines, no females are allowed in the imperial camp. This young fox girl is indeed beautiful, but young general shouldn't break the rules because of this." Lin Muyu explained somewhat awkwardly, "Old General Su, you're thinking too much. Just now, I spied on the demon race's camp and captured this young girl from the fox race. It wasn't for anything else. I just wanted to obtain some useful information from her." "If that's the case." Suing smiled and said, "This old man has thought too much. Please forgive me, young general." "It's fine. Wake her up and interrogate her." "Yes." Wei Chou walked forward, his fingertips infused with battle qi. He lightly pressed on Hong Luo's forehead, and she immediately woke up. She stared dumbfoundedly at the group of people around her, her face pale. You indiscriminately slaughter the innocent. Give me back the scrolls, give me back the scrolls." "What scrolls?" Wei Chou was stunned. Lin Muyu took out the 2 scrolls and smiled helplessly. "I don't know what's written. Let's see how we interrogate her. She won't say anything and won't tell me the true reason the demon race attacked demon subduing pass." "That's easy." Xiahou laughed as he walked forward, his eyes full of lewdness. "I haven't played with the fox race yet." Hong Luo was at a loss of what to do. Her tears fell again as she looked at Lin Muyu, crying, "That human, since you kidnapped me and brought me here, you must protect me." You can't." Lin Muyu leaned on her long sword. "But you won't tell me why the demon race attacked demon subduing pass. As long as you tell me, I will guarantee your safety. How about it?" 2 lines of tears hung on Hong Luo's beautiful face. She closed her eyes and reached out to untie her clothes. Half of her snow-white bosom was revealed. She closed her eyes and cried, "Hong Luo will never betray the saintess. You evil humans want to take away Hong Luo's chastity. Then hurry up. I'm not afraid of you." Wei Chou was stunned. "Commander, what should we do?" Xiahou smiled. "What else can we do? We'll talk after we're done." Lin Muyu coughed. Xiahou, "Stop. Forget it. Since she would rather die than speak, then even if you took her body, it would be meaningless. Go down." Xiahou said unwillingly, "But it can boost morale, my lord." "What's the use of boosting morale? Remember, you are a soldier of the empire. In my tent, no one is allowed to be promiscuous. Do you understand? Yes, my lord. Lin Muyu looked coldly at Hong Luo and said, I'll have to trouble you for a bit. I'll temporarily imprison you in the demon subduing pass camp. I'll decide how to deal with you after this war is over. Hong Luo looked at her in a daze, wanting to say something but hesitating. The next day, as expected, the Naga army of nearly 40,000 madly attacked the city. The fierce battle lasted for an entire morning. Both sides suffered losses, but Lin Muyu also saw through it. As long as the imperial army did not leave the city, the demon race could do nothing to them. In terms of siege ability, the demon race was simply too inferior. They didn't even have scaling ladders and only relied on their most primitive beast instincts to attack the city. They were immediately frightened out of their wits by Lin Muyu's fire attack. It would be a wonder if this kind of army could conquer demon subduing pass. In the afternoon, a conch horn sounded in the distance. The Naga army once again retreated like the tide. About half an hour later, a man holding a white flag rode over from the distance. He was a man of the fox race. He also had fox ears and a tail, but his tail was divided into two. He rode a fine horse and wore armor. He looked up at the city and shouted from afar, I am the envoy of the fox race. Someone who can speak. Lin Muyu turned and stood on the battlement, her cloak flying. She smiled and said, I am General Lin Muyu. Speak. The man of the fox race looked up at Lin Muyu and said, Last night, you kidnapped one of our fox race women. Is this true? Yes, so what? The man of the fox race gritted his teeth. Lin Muyu, my army has decided to stop the war. Are you willing? You want to stop the war just because you want to. What do you take the Qin Empire for? Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. Then what do you want? I want to meet the saintess of the fox race to discuss the matter of stopping the war. Okay. The man of the fox race replied without thinking. 2 hours later, a mile away from the city gate, the saintess will naturally wait for you. It depends on whether you have the guts to come. Remember to bring Hong Luo with you. Yes, I will go. Lin Muyu turned around and jumped off the battlement. She patted the mud off her knees. Wei Chou said lightly, Commander, isn't it too risky? You are going to negotiate with them alone? It doesn't matter. Just lead 100 people and follow me. Yes. The gate of the city gate slowly opened. Lin Muyu carried the dragon spirit sword and rode out of the city. At the same time, she led a horse with the fox race girl Hong Luo tied to it. As soon as she got out of the city, she smelled an extremely fishy smell. After fighting for more than 10 days, the corpses under the city gate had begun to rot. It was the beginning of spring, and flies were flying everywhere. In a few days, these corpses would definitely rot. If they were not buried in time, it would lead to a plague. Wei Chou, Xiahou Sang, and the others led 100 elite Imperial Army cavalrymen, and followed closely behind. The old General Su Ying was sitting on top of the city gate. Looking at the figures of the young people from afar, Su Ying couldn't help but stroke his beard and smiled. The younger generation is really formidable. They are more courageous than others. A mile outside the city, after Lin Muyu dismounted with Hong Luo, a group of people slowly came from afar. After stopping in the distance, a girl wearing a fiery red long-sleeved dress got off the horse and walked over alone. Her appearance was elegant, but she was also from the fox race. Behind her were 3 tails that were wrapped in flames. This made Lin Muyu think of Tang Xiaoxi. However, after Tang Xiaoxi transformed into a 9-tailed demon fox, she was much more beautiful and imposing than this saintess. Saintess, it's all because of Hong Luo's carelessness. Hong Luo cried from afar. Are you all right, Hong Luo? The saintess frowned and asked. I'm fine. It's just that the dossier was taken away by this person. What? The dossier was taken away? The saintess gritted her teeth. Lin Muyu let go of her hand, letting Hong Luo go back. She raised her hand to pull out the dragon spirit sword and propped it on the ground. She said, You're the saintess of the Skyblaze sect, right? Now can you tell me why your demon race attacked the human race's territory? Isn't it good that everything was peaceful before? Is it good? The saintess's eyes were filled with killing intent. she said. You sent an army to hunt down our nine-tailed fairy fox, and this is called peaceful? Nine-tailed fairy fox? Lin Muyu was startled. It's the nine-tailed demon fox, isn't it? Even if we humans hunt down the nine-tailed demon fox, what does it have to do with you? The saintess suddenly shook her sleeves. Flames lingered around her body, and the three tails behind her rapidly burst into flames. Her expression was even somewhat sinister. She sneered and said, "The nine-tailed fairy fox is the god that our Skyblaze sect believes in. Why do you think?" "Wait." Lin Muyu opened her hand and said, "Don't be in a hurry to act. I'm not the one who hunts down the nine-tailed fairy fox. On the contrary, I'm the one who protects her. Moreover, Xiaoxi is my best friend. How could I kill her?" You know the nine-tailed fairy fox?" "Nonsense. Her name is Tang Xiaoxi, one of the successors of the Seven Seas Tang sect. You attacked the demon-subduing pass without understanding anything. You were too reckless." The saintess actually revealed an ashamed expression. She said, "Milord, if you know the nine-tailed fairy fox, can you let me meet her?" "What do you mean?" Lin Muyu asked. "It's like this," the saintess explained. "The Skyblaze sect has waited for the nine-tailed fairy fox for nearly 10,000 years. Our only mission is to help the nine-tailed fairy fox ascend to the heavenly realm. If Milord knows the nine-tailed fairy fox, please invite her to see me. This little girl will offer you the 3 fire god seal fragments." "The fire god seal fragments?" Lin Muyu was stunned. "Yes, the one you took away was the 10th star universe seal. I still have 2 here, the 11th god seal and the 12th god seal. Milord, do you know the fire god seal?" Lin Muyu was flabbergasted. After a few seconds of silence, she said, "On the human continent, the fire god seal is also known as the fire fox seal. It's the unique technique of the Seven Seas Tang sect." The saintess was speechless. However, everyone thought that the fire fox seal only had 9 heavens. They didn't know that there were 3 fragments, a total of 12 heavens. It was hard to imagine how strong Tang Xiaoxi would be if she learned the complete 12 heavens of the fire god's seal. Thinking of this, Lin Muyu actually became a little excited. The nine-tailed fairy fox was not a demon but a god. Tang Xiaoxi's transformation was not a demon, but an immortal transformation. Chapter 283. The saintess smiled and looked deeply at Lin Muyu. She said, "Looking at your imperial rank, you are already the commander of an army. It is really fortunate for the queen to have a friend like you. I only hope that you can bring the queen to the forest of infinity. The entire demon race will be grateful to you." Lin Muyu was a little vigilant. She smiled and said, "Xiaoxi is your queen? Haha, I am a simple person. I think you are eagerly looking forward to Xiaoxi going to the forest of infinity. You must need her to do something for the demon race, right?" The saintess was slightly stunned, as if her thoughts had been seen through. At this moment, in the crowd behind the saintess, a snake man general carrying a battle axe rushed over. His scaly face was full of anger. He shouted, hashtag at hashtag yin hashtag at and hashtag 22 hashtag yin yin hashtag %%. She didn't understand a word, but it was obviously not good. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. Her palm was already pressed on the hilt of her sword. She said coldly, "Do you want to attack me? If you are not afraid of death, then come and try." The Naga general let out a furious roar and brandished his axe, creating a gust of wind. "General Hellion." The saintess hurriedly turned around and glared at the snake man general. Her pretty face was full of anger. She said, "This human lord is a close friend of the queen. Why? Do you want to destroy the future of the entire demon race?" Mani. The snake man general slowly put down his battle axe and stood behind the saintess. However, with a hissing sound, he spat out his tongue at Lin Muyu. The corners of his mouth were full of a grin. It seemed that as long as Lin Muyu was a little careless, she would be swallowed by him. The saintess turned around and smiled again. She said, "Lady Lin Muyu, our request is actually very simple. The nine-tailed fairy fox is a spiritual creature formed by the spiritual energy of the 9 heavens. As long as it cultivates to the godly state, it can ascend to the heaven realm. For hundreds of thousands of years, the demon race has been revered as a god by the nine-tailed fairy fox. But now the demon race continues to decline, and even our rebirth pool has begun to dry up. If this continues, I'm afraid that in another few thousand years, the demon race will disappear from the mainland. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and smiled. So, when the nine-tailed fox spirit appeared on the mainland, you saw hope. She must have something that the demon clan needs, right? The saintess was startled. Yes. Lin Muyu frowned and turned to leave. Then we have nothing to talk about. Pack up and prepare for battle. Wait, lady. The saintess hurriedly took a few steps forward and said, once the nine-tailed fairy fox appears, she will be the queen of our demon race. All we need is a drop of her blood. As long as the nine-tailed fairy fox's blood is a drop, the rebirth pool will be able to regain its divine power and allow our demon race to continue to thrive. Lin Muyu stopped and asked, then what can Xiaoxi get? The saintess smiled. In the back mountain of the demon race's main altar, there is a spring called the Fountain of Immortality. Although it doesn't have the effect of immortality, it has an even more magical effect. As long as you bathe in the Fountain of Immortality once, it can suppress the divine power in Her Highness' body and allow her to restore her original body. In the future, she will be able to change as she pleases. Could it be that, isn't that enough? Moreover, as long as Her Highness is willing to enter the endless forest once, you can take the 11th and 12th level of the Fire God's seal from this servant. Lin Muyu's heart moved. She narrowed her eyes at the three-tailed fox saintess and said, if you let Xiaoxi enter the endless forest, who knows if the Nagas, bearmen, and lizardmen behind you will ambush and harm her? Why should I believe you? This. The saintess bit her lip, her face full of helplessness. You humans are always so suspicious. Then lady, please speak. As long as your request isn't too outrageous, this servant will naturally do my best to fulfill it. Lin Muyu raised her brows and said, that's good. I will invite Xiaoxi to the Demon Suppression Pass. What you have to do is also very simple. I want you to hand over 30,000 Fox Clan troops and 20,000 Tree Demon troops. Let them put down their weapons and enter the Demon Suppression Pass to be guarded by my troops. Only then will Xiaoxi leave the city and enter the Endless Forest. After she has really shed her 9 tails, I will naturally let these 50,000 captives go. The saintess looked at her in shock, her body trembling slightly. 30,000 Fox Clan troops, 20,000 Tree Demon troops. This is the most elite force of our demon clan. Lady Yu, if you go back on your word, I'm afraid our entire demon clan will be exterminated by the humans. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and looked deeply at her. Saintess, please believe me. The weight of Xiaoxi in my heart will definitely surpass your measly 50,000 demon clan troops. I will accompany her into the endless forest. Is that enough? The saintess thought for a moment and bit her lip. Lady, is this just a deal? The Xiaoxi you speak of is our queen. As long as she gives the order, we are willing to do anything. This is the loyalty of our demon clan. Do you understand this kind of loyalty? I understand. The corners of Lin Muyu's mouth rose. She smiled and said, but there is no trust without reason in this world. If you can convince me with just a few words, it can only mean that I'm stupid. If I'm so stupid, won't I harm Xiaoxi? The saintess smiled. This servant understands. Then please immediately invite Her Highness to Demon Subduing Pass. Our hundreds of thousands of demon clan members will wait here for Her Highness' arrival. Lin Muyu nodded. But at this moment, a rider galloped out from the pass. It was Tang Jun. He held a war flag in his hand and his face was full of smiles. He said loudly, Young General, Commander Feng Jixing has led 10,000 troops to Demon Subduing Pass with provisions, equipment and medicine. Moreover, Her Highness Qin Yin and Princess Tang Xiaoxi have also come with them. They have already entered the pass. Good. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Tang Xiaoxi had actually come with Qin Yin. This was even better. She turned to the saintess and said, Good, go and organize your troops. In a moment I will open the gates. Have your 50,000 troops put down their weapons and enter the city as prisoners. Then I will take Xiaoxi out of the city and into the endless forest to fulfill your wish." The saintess looked at Lin Muyu excitedly and said, "That? Can you let this servant see Her Highness the Queen first? As long as I see her, I will have no doubts about you. I will certainly carry out the deal you suggested." Lin Muyu nodded. "All right then, follow me into the pass, but you can only go in alone. Get the other Fox clan members to guard outside." "Yes." The saintess turned around and used an incomprehensible language to speak to the Naga and Fox clan generals behind her. Immediately, the Naga general angrily shouted in the Naga language. A handsome Fox clan general cupped his fists and said, "Saintess, you mustn't do this. How can we trust this human so easily? Humans are always cunning. Saintess, have you forgotten how Xing Yifan deceived the trust of the previous generation's saintess and started a war that almost wiped out the demon clan's army?" The saintess slowly nodded. "I know, but Her Highness the Queen is in their hands. I have no choice but to take the risk. Don't worry, I believe in this Lord Lin Muyu. Moreover, I have no other choice. For the future of the demon clan, I can only take this risk." The Fox clan general held a scimitar and urged his horse forward. He said, "Saintess, this general will follow you." Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, "No, only the saintess can come with me alone." Impolite to the extreme, a murderous intent flashed across the Fox clan general's face. The scimitar in his hand carried a sliver of do qi as it rapidly attacked. 3 saber lights appeared in front of Lin Muyu's chest. This saber technique was very cunning, vicious, and shocking. Lin Muyu's counterattack was even faster. Her long sword and scabbard made 2 clanging sounds in the air to block the other party's attack. Suddenly her arm shook, and the blade was unsheathed. A revolving force gathered around the blade. Sword absorption technique. Swoosh. The Fox clan general's scimitar was sucked downwards. Just as he was about to fall off his horse, Lin Muyu suddenly raised her hand and heavily slapped him, forcing him and his horse back several steps. The qi in his body was in a mess, and he would not be able to attack for a short period of time. "You." The Fox clan general gritted his teeth. He had never imagined that there would be such an expert in the human army. He had already suffered a great loss after being caught off guard. If the other party had any killing intent, he would probably have lost at least one of his right arms. The saintess's face was filled with blame. She said, "General Linghu, stand down." "Yes, saintess." He raised his scimitar and slowly retreated a few steps. Looking at Lin Muyu, he said, "If you humans harm the saintess, we will definitely bathe Lanyan City in blood no matter the cost." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and did not say anything. She only waved her hand and respectfully said, "Saintess, follow me into the city." When Lin Muyu brought this beautiful Fox clan woman with 3 wagging tails into the demon-subduing pass, the soldiers of the Tianchong army and the 7 Sea City army were all dumbfounded. Naturally, there were many who could not help but draw their bows and aim straight at this beautiful Fox clan woman. After all, they had been fighting for so many days, and the 2 sides had already become mortal enemies. No one is allowed to attack. Put away your weapons. Lin Muyu raised her arm and loudly ordered, "She is only one person. She cannot harm you." Wei Chou stood guard at the side and looked at the saintess warily. At the same time he said, "Commander, Her Highness the Princess, and General Feng are all waiting for you in the central tent." "Yes, we will go now. Are we bringing this Fox clan woman with us?" "Yes, otherwise there will be no point in going." "Yes." Wei Chou cupped his fists and did not doubt Lin Muyu's orders. This was also the result of Lin Muyu's strength and strategy in battle after battle to conquer this group of subordinates. In the central tent, Xia Hosang galloped away with a group of imperial guards. He dismounted and stood guard on both sides. Lin Muyu reached out and helped the Fox clan saintess dismount, then led her into the central tent. She suddenly lifted the curtain and saw Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, and Tang Xiaoxi standing there from afar. Tang Xiaoxi was wearing a thick leather robe to hide her 9 tails. After Lin Muyu entered the central tent, she immediately said, "Wei Chou, take some people and stand guard outside. Do not let anyone in." "Yes, Commander." Tang Xiaoxi was already in front of her. There was a refreshing smile in her golden eyes. "Mu." Xiaoyin and I have come to see you. Oh, who is this woman? Seeing the Saintess and Lin Muyu walking side by side, the beautiful princess was immediately filled with jealousy. Mu, you flirtatious radish. You have only left Lanyan City for a few days, and you have already hooked up with such a woman. Sob Xiaoyin, your life is so bitter. Qinin. She was actually speechless. At this moment, the Saintess walked forward and knelt on both knees. She piously said in a low voice, I am the 29th generation Fox Clan Saintess, Ling Huyan. I pay my respects to your highness. Chapter 284. Ling Huyan, who are you? Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. She stood there with her mouth wide open, not knowing what to say. Ling Huyan raised her head, her face full of smiles. Perhaps it was due to her excitement, but the three tails behind her swayed gently. She said, You are a nine-tailed fairy fox and I am a three-tailed fox. We are originally of the same bloodline. Your nine-tailed body is a gift from the heavens, and it is also a gift from the heavens to our Fox Clan's king. Lin Muyu explained from the side. Generally speaking, Xiaoxi, it is not a bad thing for you to transform into a nine-tailed fairy fox. You are fated to be the supreme ruler of the demon clan. I helped you make a deal with them. Xiaoxi, as long as you agree to give them a drop of blood, then you can become the ruler of the entire demon clan. Moreover, you can also obtain 3 incomplete cultivation scrolls of the Fire Fox Seal, which are the 10th, 11th, and 12th heavens, the Cosmic Star Seal, the Divine Punishment Seal, and the God-Slaying Seal. What? Tang Xiaoxi was even more shocked. Isn't the Fire Fox Seal only 9 heavens? Then there are 3 heavens. Heavens? This is something that even grandfather doesn't know about. Qinin, on the other hand, had a worried look on her face as she stepped forward and held Lin Muyu's hand. She stood on tiptoe and whispered in his ear. Big brother Ayu, those who are not of our clan are definitely not of the same mind. Could the Fox clan be lying to us? Xiaoxi's safety is the most important thing. Big brother Ayu, you mustn't let Xiaoxi take risks. Lin Muyu nodded and patted Qinyan's shoulder. Don't worry, Xiaoyin. I know what I'm doing. Tang Xiaoxi thought silently for a while and said, The Cosmic Star Seal, the Divine Punishment Seal, and the God-Slaying Seal couldn't be lying to me to go to the Fox clan, right? Although I don't look like a human right now, I have a human heart. Lin Muyu held back her laughter and said, I know these can't convince you. Then there's one more thing. After entering the Endless Forest, there's an immortal spring in the mountain behind the demon clan's headquarters. As long as Xiaoxi bathes in the spring, you can transform into your current form, allowing you to return to your human form. And from now on, you can freely return to your nine-tailed form. Are you willing? For Tang Xiaoxi, this was the most important thing. After all, she had been a human for 20 years, and now she had suddenly turned into a nine-tailed demon fox. This change was too difficult for her to accept. Moreover, how could she continue to live a normal life in this form? In order to hide her 9 tails, she had to wear this thick robe for many days. She could no longer wear the beautiful clothes of the empire. All right then. She nodded in agreement. Saintess Ling Huyan was overjoyed. She hurriedly knelt down again and said, Many thanks for your highness gift. The demon clan can rise again. This is great. We don't have to be bullied anymore. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, If Xiaoxi becomes your queen, you must also make an alliance with the humans. You can't suddenly launch a large-scale attack like this time. Ling Huyan smiled and said, Of course. However, the demon clan is willing to coexist peacefully with the humans. I'm afraid that the humans are not willing to live in peace with the demon clan. Once the human army crosses the demon subduing pass and invades the endless forest, the demon clan will fight to the death to protect their homeland. You can rest assured. Lin Muyu waved her hand and introduced. This is Her Highness Qinin, the future queen of the empire. We can conclude this peace treaty now. From now on, the humans won't advance westward, and the demon clan won't be able to cross the demon subduing pass. What do you think? Ling Huyan said respectfully. Yes, the demon clan won't lightly attack. Please rest assured, Your Highness. Qin nodded and said, the humans won't advance westward either. Ling Huyen straightened her body and looked at Tang Xiaoxi. She smiled and said, this servant has a presumptuous request. Now, can your highness let this servant see the true appearance of the nine-tailed fox? Ah. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned and looked at Lin Muyu. Ling Huyen wanted to verify her identity. Lin Muyu nodded and said, yes, let her see. Okay. Tang Xiaoxi raised her hand to untie the tie at her collar and handed the robe to Qin. The next moment, the 9 flame tails behind her swayed slowly in the air. The fox ears on her head trembled lightly. She was very intelligent. Her golden eyes were smiling and she asked, Ling Huyen, now that you've seen it, are you satisfied with my current appearance? Ling Huyen was dumbfounded. She opened her small mouth and murmured, so beautiful, such a beautiful 9-tailed fox. I don't want to always be like this, Tang Xiaoxi said sullenly. Ling Huyen chuckled. Yes, it's understandable. After all, your highness has always lived as a human. But your highness can rest assured in the future. In our demon clan, no one will make fun of your highness. They will only revere you. No. Tang Xiaoxi looked nervous and said, I won't live in the demon clan. I want to live in the imperial capital. Yes, that's fine. The demon clan awaits your highness's arrival at any time. That's good. Lin Muyu said. Now Saintess, you can go back and let your 50,000 captives enter the city. Then I will naturally bring Xiaoxi to the headquarters of the demon forest. It's the endless forest. Call it whatever you want as long as you're happy. Ling Huyen looked helpless. Feng Jixing said, You want to let the demon clan captives into the demon subduing pass? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and said, Xiaoxi and I can't rashly go to the endless forest, so we must hold a bargaining chip in our hands. 30,000 Fox Clan troops and 20,000 Tree Demon troops are the most elite troops of the Demon Clan. We will keep them as captives in the Demon Subduing Pass. Big Brother Feng, you must help me guard them well. If Xiaoxi and I don't return in 3 days, Big Brother Feng will slaughter these 50,000 demons. Okay. Feng Jixing smiled slightly. It just so happens that His Majesty has given me a decree to help you. If we can really quell the demon clan's chaos, it will be a great service. Ling Huyen felt a chill in her heart when she heard this. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing looked like elegant young generals, but in their hearts they had murderous intent. Tens of thousands of lives could be wiped out in a puff of smoke while they were chatting. Watching Saintess Ling Huyen leave the demon subduing pass, Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing protected Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. In addition, Wei Chou Suing and the other generals stood guard at the side, waiting for the demon clan's captives. About half an hour later, as expected, a dense crowd of Fox Clan troops and Tree Demon troops had arrived. The Fox Clan troops were all male and very strong. Their women were probably only used for reproduction. The Tree Demons had all placed their bows and arrows at the foot of the city, and entered the city one after another. There was a captive camp in the Demon Subduing Pass, a camp made of steel. After entering, one could not leave without a key. Moreover, it was enough to imprison 50,000 captives, so it was relatively safe. After more than an hour, all 50,000 captives had entered the cages, sitting there quietly. When Lin Muyu brought Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin to patrol, a group of Fox Clan members looked at Tang Xiaoxi's golden eyes, their faces full of worship. They all knelt on the ground and said in unison, Your Highness Shi. Qin Yin smiled slightly. The Empire has another highness. Tang Xiaoxi held back her laughter. Xiao Yin, don't make fun of me. Do you think I want to? I actually want to be a normal human. Who would have thought that there would be another me living in my body? Lin Muyu said, Fortune and misfortune go hand in hand, so it might not be a bad thing. Well, at least it's a good thing now. Xiaoxi, you alone managed to quell the chaos of the demon clan. This is a great merit. You don't know, but if it weren't for you, I'm afraid we would have had to sacrifice the lives of at least 100,000 soldiers in order to exterminate the entire demon clan. That was a great price to pay. Feng Jixing smiled at the side and said, Are you sure that we can exterminate the demon clan with just 100,000 soldiers? Lin Muyu smiled slightly, yes. Good boy, you're really arrogant, but I like it. Feng Jixing quickly walked over to Saintess Ling Hu Yan's side and said with a smile, Beauty Ling Hu, does your Fox clan have many Fox clan beauties? Ling Hu Yan was taken aback. I wonder why the general is asking about this. There's no deeper meaning. Feng Jixing smiled and said, Look, as a commander, I'm almost 30 years old, but I'm still alone. If the Holy Maiden doesn't mind, can you introduce me to 2 or 3 beauties from the Fox race? Qin Yin giggled. My great General Feng, you still want 2 or 3? Lin Muyu also smiled. Big brother Feng is really greedy. 2 of us is enough. Which 2? Feng Jixing said with a teasing smile. The 2 or 3 I want are all Fox clan girls. You want 2? Humph, 2 highnesses. Who's the greedy one? Immediately, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi blushed and pretended not to understand anything. Ling Huyen held back her laughter and said, General Feng, if you want to marry a Fox clan girl, then come with us. As long as you like her, I can help you decide. Feng Jixing was speechless and said with a smile, Then forget it. I'll stay at Suppressing Demon Pass to protect Her Highness Yin. Those Nagas outside the city are all fierce and want nothing more than to tear us Empire soldiers into pieces. I won't take the risk. Well, then let's set off, Your Highness? Your Highness. Ling Huyen looked at Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu mounted her horse, prepared to set off. At this moment, a group of generals suddenly came over. It was Tang Zhen and the other captaincy of Seven Seas City. Princess Shi. Tang Zhen cupped his fists and said, This subordinate has a request. Tang Xiaoxi blinked and said, Speak. Tang Zhen's expression was solemn and his eyes were filled with sorrow. 5 days ago, General Yu Wenxie underestimated the enemy and advanced rashly. 60,000 of our Seven Seas City brothers went out to meet him and died tragically in the Guanxi Valley. I hope, Princess, she can make a decision for us and ask the demon race to withdraw their troops. We want to take shovels to Guanxi to bury our brothers' corpses and not let them be eaten by wolves and tigers. Tang Xiaoxi was startled and looked at Ling Huyen saying, Ling Hu, order the troops to withdraw. Yes, Your Highness. Ling Huyen nodded respectfully. It seemed that what she said was true. As long as Tang Xiaoxi was willing to go to the demon race's main altar, she would be the queen and her orders would be obeyed. Tang Zhen was overjoyed. Thank you, Princess. Chapter 285. At dusk, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi followed Saintess Ling Huyen out of the demon-subduing pass, following the main road into the depths of the endless forest. There were corpses everywhere along the way. This was the road that the Seven Seas Army had fought on a few days ago. The road was covered in messy hoof prints, and the corpses of Imperial soldiers lay on both sides of the road. At this time, flies were flying everywhere, emitting a strong stench. Tang Xiaoxi frowned. These soldiers were all from the Seven Seas province, which also meant that they were soldiers of Tang Xiaoxi's family. Seeing them die in a foreign land was naturally not a good feeling. Lin Muyu could see that she couldn't bear to see it, and urged her horse closer. She grasped her hand and said, If it wasn't for these soldiers sacrificing their lives, the demon-subduing pass would have been broken before I arrived. Their sacrifice was worth it. Tang Xiaoxi didn't say much, but she knew very well that this sacrifice was actually worthless. This was a meaningless war. Torches were lit on both sides of the road. The Fox tribe's soldiers set up defenses along the sides of the road, seemingly guarding against attacks from the snake men and lizard men. The Fox tribe was a highly intelligent race and knew the importance of Tang Xiaoxi, the queen. However, the snake men and lizard men were no different from wild beasts. They wouldn't buy it. As expected, snake men soldiers appeared on both sides of the road not far away. They held battle axes and spears, glaring fiercely at Tang Xiaoxi and Lin Muyu. Tang Xiaoxi was fine. Although she was wearing human clothing, the dancing 9 flame tails behind her were enough to prove that she was of the demon race. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, was a genuine human. The 3 golden stars on her collar shone with a frightening luster under the light of the flames. This was equivalent to telling the other races that she was a high-ranking human general. Rustle. Her palm moved lightly and grasped the hilt of her sword. Lin Muyu looked around with a cautious expression, the golden light within her body ready to summon the golden gourd to battle at any time. Ling Huyen saw clearly and said with a smile, "Don't worry, young general. Without my orders, these snake men won't attack you." Yes. Lin Muyu turned her head and looked into the distance. She saw two bearmen soldiers fighting over food in the grass, and the food was actually a human arm. The insignia on the arm was the garrison insignia of the Seven Seas City. These bearmen actually ate humans. Heavens! His whole body trembled slightly, and he said in a stern voice, "Ling Huyen, you people eat people?" Ling Huyen was slightly taken aback, and faintly said, "The Fox clan will never eat humans, but the snake men, bear men, and lizard men have very low intelligence, and are only very low-level warriors. This is a kind of innate instinct of theirs, and we ask the young general to forgive us. It's already very difficult for the Fox clan to command them. If we let them restrain this natural instinct, I'm afraid it will be very difficult for the entire demon clan to unite." Lin Muyu remained silent. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but say, "No, absolutely not. We can't let them continue to eat people in the future. We must stop them." "Yes, Your Highness. This servant will do her best to change everything," the holy maiden said respectfully, while looking at Lin Muyu's expression, and said, "Young general, what are you thinking about?" Lin Muyu's hand did not move away from the hilt of his sword. He suddenly turned his face, and his handsome face was covered in frost, and he said in a cold voice, "I have an urge to lead the human army and sweep through the endless forest, and kill all the demon clan." "You." Ling Huyen felt a chill from the bottom of her heart. She believed that the young man in front of her would do this, and as long as he was willing, he had the ability to do it. "Young general, give the demon clan another chance. I will change everything in front of me," Ling Huyen said in a pleading tone. Without the blood of the nine-tailed fairy fox as a guide, the holy power of the rebirth pool will become weaker and weaker, and the power of the Fox clan will also continue to weaken. So we are unable to control the overall situation. And we also have no way to completely control the snake men, bear men, and lizard men. But as long as Her Highness she adds new divine power to the rebirth pool, our Fox clan will be able to become the true rulers of the demon clan. Young general, please believe me. Lin Muyu slowly nodded and said, "You have all the time in the world to change." The demon clan's headquarters in the endless forest was not far away. It was about a 3-hour journey, and as they advanced, the surroundings became more prosperous. Ancient buildings appeared on both sides of the road, and there were more high-intelligence races like the Fox clan and the Deer men here. The Snake men, Lizard men, and the others were isolated outside the headquarters. Hiss hiss. A few Snake men aggressively raised their weapons, as if they wanted to attack Lin Muyu. But more than 10 Fox clan soldiers raised their scimitars and charged over. With a low roar, their scimitars were covered in flames, and they shouted at the Snake men in a language that Lin Muyu did not understand, quickly driving away the group of Snake men. It seemed that the combat strength of the Fox clan could not be underestimated, and those Snake men were not easy to deal with. If they could defeat them, they would have fought. The reason they were driven away was only because they were afraid. "We've reached the sacred altar." Ling Huyen dismounted and said with a smile, "Your Highness, come with me." Tang Xiaoxi also dismounted. The sacred altar was surrounded by flames, and it was very warm. She took off her robe, and her 9 flame tails gently swayed behind her, making her look especially beautiful. On both sides of the sacred altar, there were countless Fox clan members that were devoutly kneeling down. None of them dared to raise their heads, as if the 9-tailed demon fox in front of them was a god that could not be blasphemed. In the pool of rebirth, the lake was sparkling under the moonlight. Ling Huyen respectfully said, "This is the pool of rebirth. Your Highness, as long as a drop of your blood falls into the pool of rebirth, we will be able to save our Fox clan's imminent defeat." Tang Xiaoxi had a feeling of joy from the bottom of her heart, as if she had returned to her hometown, which made her more convinced that what Ling Huyen said was true. This place indeed had an innate connection with her, and the pool of rebirth in front of her seemed to have lived in some reincarnation of another life. Tang Xiaoxi involuntarily stepped into the pool of rebirth. Her feet were surrounded by flames, and when she stepped on the water, she did not fall into it. Ripples appeared under her feet, which was magnificent and magnificent. Under the moonlight, Tang Xiaoxi took out the dagger at her waist and gently cut her finger. Suddenly, a few drops of blood fell into the pool. Splash! The blood splashed on the surface of the water, and instantly turned into a raging flame, which surged towards the whole pool of rebirth. The divine power was dense, and the sky was full of thunder and lightning, as if it was confirming an ancient legend. The next moment, the whole pool of rebirth blossomed with golden light, which soared into the sky. Tang Xiaoxi just stood quietly on the water, bathing in the golden splendor of the sky. Her whole body was filled with a refreshing feeling, and it seemed that she was enjoying it very much. Even Ling Huyan knelt down, and her beautiful eyes were filled with excitement and joy. The pool of rebirth has recovered. Great! The pool of rebirth has recovered. Great! After about 10 minutes, all the divine power seeped into the pool. Tang Xiaoxi turned back to Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Well, let's go to the Fountain of Immortality. Ling Huyan, take us to the Fountain of Immortality." "Yes, Your Highness." Ling Huyan looked respectful and took the two to the back of the mountain, which was not too far away. Not long after, a clear spring appeared in front of them, and it was covered with a faint mist. It was actually a hot spring? "We're here," Ling Huyan said with a light smile. "The Fountain of Immortality is a holy land, and also a forbidden area of the Forest of Infinity. Ordinary Fox Clan is not qualified to bathe here. Your Highness, please, this servant will go outside to guard you." Lin Muyu sat on a rock beside her, and said, "Then I'll guard here." Ling Huyan burst into laughter. "In this case, won't the general see Your Highness's body?" Tang Xiaoxi's pretty face blushed and said, "Ling Huyan, you go down. It's fine, it's not like he hasn't seen." Lin Muyu also blushed. "Look at you guys as if I'm that kind of person." "You're not that kind of person." Tang Xiaoxi tilted her head and said with a smile, "I'm doing this to protect you." Someone continued to quibble. Tang Xiaoxi turned her back and took off her clothes one by one. The mist lingered around her, and it was hard to see her clearly. Not long after, the beautiful girl's naked body appeared in the moonlight under the lingering mist. Her snow-white and smooth skin was very enchanting, and the 9 flame tails gently swayed in the air, making the already stunning Tang Xiaoxi even more alluring. Stepping on the pebbles and entering the spring, a silky smooth feeling wrapped around her body, and Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but moan with pleasure. Lin Muyu lay on a rock and looked up at the stars in the sky. He really didn't want to peep at a beauty bathing, but this place was in the inner circle of the Fox clan, and it was really too unsafe. He had to protect Tang Xiaoxi at all times. After nearly half an hour, Tang Xiaoxi also lay in the spring and soaked for half an hour. "Mumu," she shouted with a smile. "What's wrong?" Lin Muyu raised his head and said with a smile, "Don't tell me you want someone to scrub your back? In any case, I'm still a royal guard, and I have to pay to scrub your back." "Nope." Tang Xiaoxi stood up and said with an ecstatic smile, "Mu, look at me." Under the moonlight, the girl's graceful figure was lingering in the mist. The 9 tails behind Tang Xiaoxi had disappeared, and her eyes had changed from golden to beautiful black. She looked at Lin Muyu with a smile and said excitedly, "Look at me, I've changed back." Lin Muyu was stunned and couldn't help but look down and said, "And after not seeing you for a few months, you've developed quite a bit." "Ah, you scoundrel." Tang Xiaoxi pouted and hurriedly sat back in the spring and said, "All right, turn around, I'll put on my clothes." "Okay." A few minutes later, Tang Xiaoxi had already put on a young girl's outfit in the capital and looked at him with a smile. "How do you feel now? Can you still change back to the 9 tails?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "After becoming a 9-tailed fox demon, your strength has doubled. You need this kind of power." "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi smiled slightly, and her beautiful eyes were quickly covered with a layer of gold. The light behind her soared, and the 9 golden flame tails danced quietly. She said with a smile, "Do you have any questions?" "Yes." Lin Muyu pondered for a moment. "I really want to know if there's a hole at the back of your shirt. Otherwise, how could the 9 tails extend out? If there's a hole, when you return to your human form, will you be able to see everything at the back? Tang Xiaoxi blushed and didn't know how to answer. Chapter 286. Early in the morning mist lingered in the demon race's headquarters in the endless forest. The distant building was simple and unadorned, but it also seemed like a holy object enshrouded in immortal qi. When Lin Muyu pushed open the door, 2 young girls of the Fox clan were holding a basin of clean water outside. They respectfully said, "My lord, we have come to help your highness get up and change your clothes." Lin Muyu nodded. "Go in." Tang Xiaoxi washed up while Lin Muyu leaned against the railing and looked at the scene in the distance. A group of youths of the Fox clan were urging their warhorses to gallop on the drill ground. They were training cavalry tactics such as stabbing, hacking, and encirclement. It seemed that after their failure decades ago, the demon race seemed to be looking for tactics to deal with the heavy cavalry of the humans. On the side, Saintess Ling Huyen was sitting on the stone platform under the railing. She said with a smile, "Young general, how are the light cavalry of our Fox clan?" "Average." Lin Muyu rubbed his nose. He was not lying. The skills and riding skills of these youths of the Fox clan were indeed very immature compared to those of the Imperial Army, Forbidden Army, and Longdan Army camp. Their understanding of cavalry tactics was only superficial. However, he still narrowed his eyes and said, "But the warhorses of the Fox clan are indeed of excellent quality. Their speed and charging power are both considered top-notch." "Young general has good eyesight," Ling Huyen said with a smile. "The warhorses of our Fox clan are all wild horses captured from the grasslands to the northwest of the endless forest. They are naturally wild, and in terms of leg strength and endurance, they are definitely much better than the warhorses of the Central Plains. Why don't Ling Huyen make the decision on her own and gift the young general a warhorse?" "Oh." Lin Muyu's eyes lit up. In this world, a warhorse was equivalent to a carriage, signifying a person's mobility. Naturally, Lin Muyu was overjoyed and said with a smile, "Can I really?" Ling Huyen burst into laughter, covering her small mouth as she said, "Young general is Princess Xi's closest relative, and also the person who resolved the conflict between the demon clan and the humans. If it weren't for young general, our demon clan's rebirth pool would not have been filled with divine power again. You are the benefactor of our demon clan, so a warhorse is naturally nothing. Ling Huyen has already ordered servants to bring the 2 best horses in the Forest of Infinity over. You and Princess Xi will each have one. What do you think?" "Good, very good." Lin Muyu nodded and said with a smile. At this moment, Tang Xiaoxi walked out of the door dressed in luxurious clothes. This was the beautiful embroidery unique to the Empire's Lanyan city, and together with the Firefox emblem of Qihai City, it was very beautiful. What was even rarer was that the Firefox family emblem of Qihai City was actually similar to the emblem of the Fox clan in the Endless Forest. This caused Ling Huyen to stare dumbfounded. She bowed and said, "Servant Ling Hu greets Princess Xi. Wow, your highness's clothes are so beautiful. The craftsmanship of the humans is truly wonderful." Tang Xiaoxi chuckled and said, "Ling Hu, if you want it, I will customize a set according to your figure when I return to the imperial capital, and send someone to deliver it to you. What do you think?" "Thank you, Princess Xi." Ling Huyen smiled and thanked her with a red face. It seemed that although she was the supreme ruler of the Fox clan, she was still a young girl of the Fox clan after all, so she yearned for beautiful things just like human girls. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and asked, "What were you talking about just now? I heard that you were going to give me a gift." "Yes." Ling Huyen nodded and said, "Young general has high praise for our Fox clan's warhorses, so this servant has decided to choose the 2 best warhorses of the Fox clan to gift to young general and Princess Xi. Here, they are already here. Come with me to take a look." "Okay." As they walked down the pavilion, 2 sturdy Fox clan soldiers led the warhorses over. One was white and the other was black. The white one was a mare, and the black one was a stallion. Ling Huyen smiled and said, These are 2 war horses that I tamed 2 years ago. The white one is called Snow Pear, and the black one is called Danger Ground. I named them myself, but if Princess Shi and young general are not satisfied with them, you can rename them. Lin Muyu chuckled and said, I'm satisfied, how could I not be satisfied? Xiaoxi, with your personality, you must want Snow Pear, right? Tang Xiaoxi nodded and said, Yes, Mu wants Danger Ground. Danger Ground is more robust and suits you better. Yes. Lin Muyu walked forward and caressed Danger Ground's face. She subconsciously used the spirit pulse technique, and the beast taming power of the spirit communication technique slowly seeped into the warhorse's brain. They instantly formed a preliminary contract. Danger Ground raised its head and neighed. It then walked forward and rubbed its head against Lin Muyu's arm. The Fox Clan soldier leading the horse was stunned and said, Heavens! What is it? Although Danger Ground has been tamed into a warhorse, no one has ever been able to tame it. Even the most outstanding warrior of the Fox Clan cannot ride Danger Ground. But now Lin Muyu smiled slightly and said, It means that it is fated with me, haha. As she spoke, she pulled on the reins and flipped onto the horse. Danger Ground was instantly excited and suddenly stood up with a long neigh. Under Lin Muyu's scolding, it galloped away at an astonishing speed. It turned back in the blink of an eye and brought with it the wind. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, Mu, do you like it? I like it. Lin Muyu praised from the bottom of her heart. I have never ridden such a good horse in my life. Ling Huyen was also extremely happy and said, It's great that the young general likes it. Your Highness Shi, this Snow Pear has a gentle temperament, but its speed is not slow either. Do you want to try it? There's no need. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and walked forward. After flipping onto the horse, she said, Since the matter with the Fox Clan has been settled, I should return to the Demon Suppression Pass. Ling Huyen, you must guard the endless forest well and truly control the entire demon clan. At the very least, you can't let those snake people and bear people recklessly attack humans, or even eat them. Ling Huyen nodded respectfully and said, And this servant understands. Your Highness Shi, please rest assured. That's good. We will return. Yes, this servant will escort your highness back. In the early morning, after a simple breakfast, the Fox Clan sent out a total of 300 guards to escort Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi back to the Demon Suppression Pass. They really did not have any more troops because the main force of the Fox Clan had all been captured and imprisoned in the camp of the Demon Suppression Pass along with tens of thousands of deer demons. After Lin Muyu used the power of the Conquest chapter to communicate with the warhorse, she did not need to lead the horse at all. She could control the warhorse's movements with just her consciousness. This greatly improved her horsemanship skills. She knew what kind of speed she could achieve in a dangerous situation, so she could fight on the horse without any distractions. After leaving the Fox Clan's canyon, the corpses of the human soldiers on both sides of the road had already been cleaned and buried. It was probably the work of the human army led by Tang Zhen. However, there were still some snake people, lizard men, and other demon clans that harbored evil intentions on both sides of the road. Their eyes did not show any signs of humanity, only their desire and greed for food. Hiss hiss. A snake person stared at Lin Muyu, and the long halberd in his hand also seemed to be ready to attack. Lin Muyu glanced at him out of the corner of her eye. Her eyes were filled with a strong killing intent, and the snake person actually understood her gaze. Suddenly, the snake person was so frightened that he let go of the hand holding the long halberd. With a ding, the long halberd fell to the ground. He curled up his body and bent down in the direction of Lin Muyu, as if he was submitting to her. This was the law of nature, the survival of the fittest. The powerful aura that Lin Muyu exuded was enough to intimidate this snake person. However, after walking for a short distance, Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique suddenly appeared in the dense aura of experts. Many of them were in the human realm and earth realm. They were all in the forest on the side, less than 500 meters away from each other. Xiaoxi, Linghu, you two go first. I suddenly have to go to the forest over there to solve the problem. Lin Muyu pretended to be embarrassed. Ling Huyen chuckled. Young general is really interesting. Tang Xiaoxi was a little speechless. Moo, sometimes I really don't know what to say about you. I told you to drink less soup in the morning, but you just can't help it. That's because the Fox Clan's soup is so delicious. Okay, I'm going. I'll catch up with you in a while. Okay. Lin Muyu pulled the reins, and Danger Ground flew out like a wisp of smoke, galloping into the forest in the blink of an eye. As expected, a group of 7 Seas City soldiers were squatting there with bows and spears in their hands. There were even many people holding shields and leading war horses. There were at least 10,000 people, and they looked like they were ready to attack at any time. Who are you? A Chiliarch shouted in a low voice. Lin Muyu spurred her horse into a cauliflower field, and her face was livid. Are you crazy? What do you want to do? It's young general. The group of soldiers saluted respectfully. Greetings, young general. In the crowd, Tang Zhen held a steel saber and looked at Lin Muyu with a pale face. Young general, how did you find out we were lying in ambush here? You don't need to know that. I only have one question. What do you want to do here? Tang Zhen, answer me. Lin Muyu said coldly. Tang Zhen saluted with some apprehension, but he couldn't hide the hatred on his face. Young general, our 7 Seas City's army of 70,000 died in this barren land. They were all the sons of our children's fathers and mothers, and they died in battle here just like that. When we came here to collect the corpses, we found that many of their corpses were incomplete. They were actually eaten by those Nagas as food. Young general, if we don't take revenge for this, we're not human. Tang Zhen, Lin Muyu said sternly. Are you trying to put me and Princess Xi in an inhumane and unjust situation? We've just negotiated peace with the demon race, and you want to start another war. Can you bear this responsibility? Tang Zhen was also an unyielding man. He raised his steel saber and said, Young general, I will bear the consequences of my own actions. The 10,000 soldiers of 7 Seas City behind me are willing to fight for hatred. Even if we all die here, at least we have a clear conscience. If the demonic beasts are not eliminated, there will be no true peace in the world. Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Fine, now Tang Xiaoxi is in their hands. If you launch a surprise attack, Tang Xiaoxi will definitely die. You killed Tang Xiaoxi for hatred. Is this your clear conscience? Tang Zhen was speechless. Lin Muyu dismounted and reached out to pat Tang Zhen's shoulder. Brother, I also hate the cruelty of these Nagas. I also hate that so many imperial soldiers died in vain. But this is the price of war. Give up. Follow me back to Demon Subduing Pass. Cancel this surprise attack. This is my military order as the commander of the frontline army. Tang Zhen lowered his gaze. After a while he nodded and said, Yes, your subordinate obeys. Brothers, retreat. Chapter 287. In the Demon Subduing Pass, Qin Yin stood on the gate, looking at the troops in the distance with her beautiful eyes. Finally Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi came back. Looking from afar, Tang Xiaoxi's fox ears had disappeared and were replaced by human ears. This made Qin Yin extremely excited. She said with a smile, General Feng, Xiaoxi has returned to her original appearance. Feng Jixing nodded and smiled. Yes, I just don't know if Beauty Ling who has chosen a fox beauty as a wife for me. Qin Yin. After Lin Muyu, Tang Xiaoxi, and Ling Huyan entered the pass, Qin Yin and Feng Jixing immediately went to greet them. Tang Zhen and the others also followed. It was a large group of people. Xiaoxi, did you succeed? Qin Yin asked with a smile. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled. That's good. On the side, Feng Jixing was a little disappointed because Ling Huyan didn't take the matter of choosing a wife for him to heart. Perhaps in Ling Huyan's view, Feng Jixing was handsome and powerful. Besides, as the commander of an army, it was impossible that no girls would like such a man. With so many young girls in Lanyan City, how could Feng Jixing not worry about women? But in fact, General Feng had always been obsessed with military affairs and rarely went out to play with women. Of course, it was only a matter of rarely. Standing on the gate, Lin Muyu looked back at the group of demon soldiers imprisoned in the pass. They were unarmed and could only fight back with the instinct of the demon race. At this time, it was easy to kill them, but it also meant that they would lose the alliance with the demon race. Even if they killed these 5 elites and Ling Huyen, the saintess inside the pass, what could they do? The reward would be nothing more than more cruel revenge from the Naga and Lizardmen. At that time, the Empire would probably pay a greater price. Open the door and release the demon captives. Lin Muyu gave a simple order. Instantly, the group of 7 Seas City captaincy fell silent. One of them cupped his fists and said, "Young General, are we really going to release them? If that's the case, it might be equivalent to releasing a tiger back into the mountains." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, "The demons and humans have already formed an alliance. There's no need for us to waste more manpower and resources here. The Empire's treasury has always been empty, and we can't afford to waste more resources here." "But young General," he wanted to say more, but Lin Muyu turned to Su Ying and asked, "Old General Su, what do you think?" Su Ying's eyes flickered with the light of wisdom. He cupped his fists and said with a smile, "This old general will listen to young General. Young General is the supreme commander of Demon Suppressing Pass. Young General's military orders are like a mountain. No one dares to disobey." When he said this, the group of 7 Seas City captaincy immediately didn't know what to say. Lin Muyu raised her hand and loudly ordered, "Open the gate and release the demon captives." To the side, Feng Jixing saw this and couldn't help but cast a look of approval. Meanwhile, Qin followed behind Lin Muyu with a smile, looking like a little sister. If not for the fact that she was dressed as an imperial princess, others might really think that she was Lin Muyu's little sister. With the sound of iron chains twisting, the heavy iron gate slowly rose, and the gates of the cages opened one after another. The next moment, Ling Huyen appeared below the gate and said with a smile, "Brave warriors of the demon race, we are going home." The group of demon soldiers cheered and leapt as they left. Lin Muyu stood at the gate and cupped her fist to Ling Huyen, who was riding on horseback, saying, "Saintess, we will meet again. Since we have already formed an alliance, the imperial soldiers of Demon Suppressing Pass will not cross this gate. I also hope that the demon race will not offend you and will not repeatedly provoke and invade the borders of the Empire." Ling Huyen bowed on horseback and said with a smile, "Rest assured, young General. Ling Hu understands." As she spoke, she respectfully bowed to Tang Xiaoxi and said, "Your Highness, this servant is returning to the Forest of Infinity. The Forest of Infinity welcomes your Highness home at any time. The hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers in the Forest of Infinity are at your Highness Xi's disposal at any time." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and nodded. "Go, Ling Huyen." "Yes." Ling Huyen turned around, pulled the reins, and slowly left with the group of captives. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. The chaos of the demon race had finally been settled. "Pa." Feng Jixing slapped Lin Muyu's shoulder and said with a smile, "Good lad, the chaos has been settled. The problem that Yuan Xie couldn't solve even after losing 70,000 soldiers was solved by you without shedding a single drop of blood. This time, when you return to Lanyan City, you will definitely make a great contribution. His Majesty will definitely reward you well." Lin Muyu laughed bitterly. "Reward me? I'll thank the heavens if he doesn't lock me up in prison. Ha ha ha." Feng Jixing laughed heartily. "All right, now that the chaos has been settled, you can come back with us to the imperial capital to hand in your orders. His Majesty has already ordered me to leave the Imperial Guard's Chiliarch, Sun Kailan, to guard the demon-subduing pass. Look, it's him." Behind Feng Jixing, a bearded general of about 40 years old cupped his fists and said, "This general obeys. I will definitely guard the demon-subduing pass." Lin Muyu smiled and stepped forward to pat his shoulder. "General Sun, guard this place well. Remember, the humans and the demon race have already formed an alliance. We must never provoke them. The only thing you have to do is to guard the pass and never take a step further. Even if the demon race provokes you, you must endure it. Do you understand?" Sun Kailan said respectfully. "This general has learned his lesson. Rest assured, young general. This general knows what to do." "That's good. Brother Feng, Xiaoyin and Xiaoxi, let's return to Lanyan City." "All right." After lunch, they set out on their way back. There were still many wounded soldiers groaning miserably in the barracks below the city. Fortunately, the spiritual medicine department had sent over a lot of medicine, so there were basically no more casualties. However, Yuanxia had lost 7 imperial warriors in the battle at the demon-subduing pass, and killed no more than 5 of the enemy. This kind of crushing defeat was extremely rare after Qin Jin's ascension to the throne. Presumably, Yuanxia's position as the protector of the nation could no longer be maintained. Along the way, all living things on earth were recovering, flowers were blooming in the warmth of spring, and rape flowers were blooming all over the ground. Tang Xiaoxi had returned to her original self, and everyone was in a good mood. However, when Feng Jixing talked about his experiences in the dragon-seeking forest, he learned about Elder Jing. So Sima Jing was killed by you. Feng Jixing muttered to himself. Sima Jing followed Duke Lan on expeditions for many years, and was one of Duke Lan's most capable and trusted subordinates. He was also one of the soldiers of the river-subduing army personally conferred by His Majesty. Who would have thought? Lin Muyu grabbed the reins of Jiedi and said, I didn't want to kill him at first, but this Elder Jing was too overbearing. Moreover, I overheard his conversation with Tang Bin. When they first entered the dragon-seeking forest, he already had the intention to kill Xiao Shi. To the side, Tang Xiaoxi's body trembled slightly. Her eyes were slightly red as she said, Qinin gently held her hand and comforted her. Xiao Shi doesn't need to blame yourself. This isn't your fault. Feng Jixing sighed. The Seven Seas province is vast and populous, and the Seven Seas city is one of the 7 great cities of the empire. To be honest, this temptation is too great, and it's normal that Tang Bin couldn't resist it. However, now that the legend of Xiao Shi's 9-tailed fox has been solved, she has obtained a new identity. Her Royal Highness of the Endless Forest, controlling an army of over 100,000 demons. This matter definitely can't be hidden. Duke Lan will soon find out about this. At that time, I'm afraid that Duke Lan will hand over the inheritance of the Seven Seas city to Xiao Shi without hesitation, right? Qinin chuckled. Congratulations, Xiao Shi. This is a blessing in disguise. From now on, the scepter of the Seven Seas province should be under Xiao Shi's control. Tang Xiaoxi's expression was a little sad. Even so, it's just a scepter stained with the blood of my loved ones. Lin Muyu looked up at the willow catkins floating in the sky and said with a smile, This is how the world is. Xiao Shi, you should try to accept it as soon as possible. By the way, Brother Feng, I met a group of very strange wandering mercenaries on my way to the dragon's tomb. Strange mercenaries? Feng Jixing laughed. Mercenaries are mercenaries. They're all people who can eat, drink, gamble, smoke, cheat, and steal. What's so strange about it? Lin Muyu said, They recognized that I'm from the holy sanctum, but still wanted to attack me. Moreover, this group of mercenaries is very strong, and they've basically stepped into the human realm. Logically speaking, such a group of people doesn't need to be wandering mercenaries at all. They can have a foothold anywhere. Moreover, the swordsmanship they use is very strange. I've never seen it in Lanyan City. Oh. Feng Jixing was stunned. What kind of strange swordsmanship? Show me. Yes. Lin Muyu tried hard to recall. Then he pulled out the dragon spirit sword and waved it a few times on the horse. The air was filled with the light of the sword, and it was very beautiful. After a few seconds, he sheathed the sword and said with a frown, That's it. The swordsmanship is very strange, and I still remember it clearly. Feng Jixing's body trembled, and he said, This is Lingnan swordsmanship. Lingnan swordsmanship. Lin Muyu was stunned. Swordsmanship from Lingnan. So, this group of wandering mercenaries is from Lingnan? It's not what you think. Feng Jixing frowned and said, As everyone knows, the Qinling Mountains divide the empire's territory into 2 parts. There are a total of 8 provinces in the north and 4 in the south. Every winter, the mountains are sealed by heavy snow, and the Qinling Mountains cannot be crossed. So, the north and the south are almost isolated from each other. The most prosperous province in Lingnan is the Lingnan province, which is the fief of the southern guardian King Qin Yi. The Southern Guardian King created a set of military swordsmanship called the Lingnan swordsmanship. Every soldier in the Lingnan army will practice the Lingnan swordsmanship. The crux of the problem lies here. How could a group of wandering mercenaries from the Lingnan province know how to use the Lingnan swordsmanship? Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel a chill run down her spine. Brother Feng, you mean to say that this group of wandering mercenaries is actually from the Lingnan Empire's army? Yes. Feng Jixing nodded. For the past year, I always felt that a storm was coming. Now it seems that it is really coming. At the side, Qinin blinked her eyes and said, Second uncle, he shouldn't have any disloyal intentions, right? After all, he is father's younger brother, and, although the Lingnan province has sufficient military strength, it should not be able to contend against the 8 provinces of the Lingnan province. Moreover, there is still the natural moat of the Qinling Mountains between the north and the south. Feng Jixing nodded. Yes, that is true, but there are always accidents. When we return to the imperial capital, Your Highness, you and I will report this matter to His Majesty together. Okay. Chapter 288. Late at night, the interior of the Zetian Palace was brightly lit. The palace maids had lit up the Crane Palace lanterns. The light from the lanterns gathered together and swayed with a gust of wind. After dismissing a few officials, Qin Jin left behind only Qinin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, Qin Lei, Chu Huaying, and the other people close to him. He asked with a serious expression, "You, is what General Feng said true? Are those mercenaries skilled in the Lingnan sword style?" Lin Muyu nodded. Yes, what General Feng said is true. Qin Jin muttered. Who do you think these wandering mercenaries are after? The dragon forest is filled with danger. These wandering mercenaries would not barge in without a purpose. In fact, there is no need to guess. They are also after Xiaoxi, Lin Muyu said calmly. Tang Xiaoxi was slightly startled. She said, even if they are from the Lingnan Empire, why are they looking for me? Qin Yin's beautiful eyes shone with wisdom. She said, Xiaoxi, you are Duke Lan's most cherished descendant and one of the successors of the entire Seven Seas province. Therefore, there are only 2 reasons why the Lingnan army is looking for you. First, they want to save you and then claim credit from Duke Lan to build a good relationship with the Seven Seas province. Second, they want to bring you back to Lingnan after finding you and use you to threaten Duke Lan. These are the only 2 reasons. Tang Xiaoxi was silent. There was an indescribable sadness in her eyes. When did the carefree her become an important chess piece on the chessboard of the empire? Feng Jixing took a deep breath and cupped his fists. Thinking about how the House of Chivalry has tried to make a move against Xiaoxi time and time again, this seems to make more sense. The House of Chivalry's influence in Lingnan has not been affected in the slightest by the imperial edict, and is still growing strong. I believe that the true mastermind behind the House of Chivalry is perhaps one of the powerful ministers in Lingnan. One of the powerful ministers? Qin Jin's eyes shone brightly as he said, Allez. Qin Lei cupped his fists and said, this subordinate is here. Summon your father to Lanyan City tomorrow morning. I haven't seen my 3rd brother for a long time. Yes, I understand. Qin Jin raised his head to look at the crowd again and said, Feng Jixing, tighten the security of the imperial capital. Chu Huayao, you must finish the reorganization of the Flying Mount Battalion within 3 days. I want an invincible Flying Mount Battalion to protect the imperial capital. Chu Huaijin cupped his fists. I will not let you down. Qin Jin then looked at Lin Muyu. His gaze softened as he said, Son, you have done a great service in quelling the demon race's war. Also, you saved Princess Xiaoxi in the dragon-seeking forest by yourself, which is also a great service. However, I really don't know how to reward you for killing Tangbin by mistake. Now, what kind of reward do you want? Lin Muyu thought for a moment, then cupped his fists and said, Father, I don't want anything else. I only ask that you give me 20,000 Empire Army badges. Is that okay? Empire Army badges? Qin Jin was surprised. What do you want these for? Lin Muyu explained. Does father still remember the Longdan army camp? This mercenary group is under my control, but mercenaries are mercenaries after all. They don't have a final goal, so I hope that father can secretly bestow me 20,000 Empire Army badges. This way, the Longdan army camp will belong to the Imperial Army, just not directly under the control of the Ministry of War. This way, I can comfort the hearts of these mercenaries. This way, even if there are any changes in the future, their blood and tears will still flow for the Empire. All right. Qin Jin stood up excitedly and said, everyone needs comfort. We will definitely not let the Longdan army camp down. Someone, immediately order the Ministry of Works to quickly cast 20,000 Empire Army badges made of pure gold, and hand them to Lin Muyu. Yes, Your Majesty. An attendant received the order from a distance and left. Is there anything else that you need? Qin Jin asked with a smile. He seemed to feel that these 20,000 badges were far from enough to make up for Lin Muyu's achievements. However, Lin Muyu shook her head and said, there's no need for anything else. You really don't need it? Qin Jin smiled. The protector of the state, Yuan Xie, made a mistake in command in the Battle of Demon Subduing Pass, causing the Seven Seas province to lose nearly 70,000 elite soldiers. I've already stripped him of his military position. I was originally planning to give this third-rank military rank to you. Lin Muyu was stunned. Father wants to promote me? That's naturally good. Just do it. Qin Jin couldn't help but laugh. Good. Immediately promote Lin Muyu to rank 3 national general. Her salary and duties will be promoted accordingly. She will be specially granted the Dragon Talisman, and can mobilize no more than 20,000 troops within the Empire's borders at any time. Thank you, Father. Lin Muyu sincerely expressed his thanks. This time, the power in his hands was even greater. Qin Jin had adopted him as his son without any title or other rewards. So many people didn't even care about him as a prince. But now that he had been promoted to rank 3 national general, it was likely that those people would no longer be able to not look up to him. Suddenly, the words of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor echoed in his heart. If you want others to respect you, you must first make them fear you. These words really made sense. In the middle of the night, he sent Tang Xiaoxi back to the Duke's mansion. Tang Xiaoxi had just obtained 3 Fire God seal fragments, so she naturally had to cultivate well. As for Lin Muyu, he returned to the Holy Temple to rest. After all, the Holy Temple was his home. As for the National General, the seals had already been placed in the Cosmos sack. Qin Jin wanted to build a new residence for him in the imperial capital, but he probably wouldn't be able to move in for the time being. The next day, when Lin Muyu attended the morning court as the National General, a shocking piece of news arrived. A little earlier, Zheng Yifan had sent a memorial to Qin Jin, requesting to retire and return to his hometown. In the end, Qin Jin had agreed. At the same time that everyone was attending court, the Divine Marquis residents was already packing their luggage and preparing to move back to their hometown in Tianshu province. At this point, Lanyan City could be considered to have truly changed. The conservative forces led by Zheng Yifan had gradually lost their pillar of support, while Lin Muyu, Chu Huaying, Zhang Wei and the others who had been groomed by Qin Jin all held military power. The world of Lanyan City had truly become the world of the Qin family. In the main hall, Prince Ji Ning, Qin Jin, placed his hand on the hilt of his sword and said with a smile, "Royal brother, I wonder why you have summoned me here this time? Could it be that you want me to go fishing with you again?" Qin Jin couldn't help but burst into laughter. Third brother must be joking. Recently, I have been busy with government affairs and have no time to go fishing. However, there is indeed a matter that requires both of us to complete, and we really want to go fishing. Oh, what do you mean? Qin Jin asked with a smile. As Prince Ji Ning, Qin Jin didn't hold any military power. On the day Qin Jin ascended to the throne, Qin Jin had handed over all military power, and no longer meddled in government affairs. Therefore, he had a good reputation as Prince Ji Ning in Lanyan City. Not fighting was the best strategy. Qin Jin nodded and muttered, "Third brother, how long has it been since you last saw your second brother?" Second brother? Qin Kuang smiled. About 5 years. Yes, it's been 5 years in the blink of an eye. Qin Jin sighed and said, It's been 5 years since the three of us have gathered together. Now that spring is in full bloom, I plan to let Xiao Yin oversee the country for a month and meet up with you, second brother, to go fishing at Fairy Lake in Dubhe province. We can relive the joy of childhood. What do you think, third brother? Qin Jin was overjoyed and said with a smile, I'm so happy that Imperial Brother has this idea. As long as Imperial Brother issues an Imperial Edict, the three of us will be able to reunite at Fairy Lake. No, I have to go back and tidy up the fine wine in the residence. We can fish and enjoy the wine at the same time. That's the joy of brothers. Qin Jin laughed and said, Yes, then let's do it this way. Xiao Yin has grown up, and it's time for her to gain some experience. I will be leaving the capital for a month. During this month, all the state affairs will be handed over to Her Highness. I hope that all the officials can do their best to assist my daughter. I'm afraid the Qin Empire will have to rely on all of you in the future. The officials all knelt on the ground. Rest assured, Your Majesty. We will do our best to assist Her Highness Yin. Yes. Qin Jin nodded and said, Third brother, then write a letter and send it to Lingnan with my imperial edict. Once second brother's reply is received, we will head to Dubhe province together. Yes, Your Majesty. At this moment, Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, shall I lead the imperial guards to Dubhe province with you as guards? No. Qin Jin waved his hand and said, The imperial guards have the heavy responsibility of protecting the capital. They are not allowed to leave Lanyan City. Qin Lei said, Then this general will lead the imperial guards to protect her. No. Qin Jin smiled slightly and said, The imperial guards have to protect Xiao Yin and are not allowed to leave without permission. Qin Jin was stunned. Then what army does Imperial Brother plan to bring to Dubhe province? There will be bandits running amok along the way, and it's not very safe. How can we go without enough troops? Qin Jin smiled. I will transfer 50,000 elite soldiers from the Tianchong army and 40,000 soldiers from the Longquan army to guard the Imperial Mausoleum. When we pass through Tsangnan province, I will ask Si Kongfan for another 10,000 elite soldiers. 100,000 elite soldiers will follow us to Dubhe province. That should be enough, right? Enough. Qin Jin was extremely excited and said with a smile. Back then, the three of us brothers would fish, play chess, ride and shoot every day. Now that we are old, if we can relive the happiness of our childhood once again, it would be enough even if we die. Haha, third brother, you are a straightforward person, but your words are really inauspicious. After the discussion, Qin Jin asked Lin Muyu to stay and accompany him and Qin Yin for lunch. At noon, Qin Jin, the emperor of the empire, once again put on an apron and began to cook lunch. Every time he cooked, he would do it himself and did not need anyone's help. From cutting the vegetables to lighting the fire and cooking, he did it all by himself. As for Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, their task was to wait at the side for the meal to be served. Imperial Father, are you really going to Dubhe province to fish? Lin Muyu asked. Qin Jin smiled. Yes, we three brothers of the Qin clan have not gathered for a long time. However, Qin Yin had a worried look on her face. What if second uncle really has the intention to be disloyal? That is a matter between brothers, so let it be settled between brothers. There is no need to use weapons, Qin Jin said with a slight smile. Lin Muyu asked, What if the Prince of Jinnan, Qin Yi, does not accept Imperial Father's invitation? The knife in Qin Jin's hand that was cutting vegetables suddenly tightened, and with a paw sound, it was hammered into the wooden board. He said indifferently, Then it will give me a good reason to send troops to Lingnan. I have already sent a letter to Duke Lan and Duke Yun. As long as Lingnan has the intention to be disloyal, Lingbei will send 700,000 soldiers to cross the Qinling Mountains and redraw the territory of the empire at all costs. Chapter 289. In the afternoon, Lin Muyu made a trip to the Longdan Army Camp's post house in Lanyan City. She discovered that the post house had expanded quite a bit. It had swallowed up a pharmacy on the side, flattened the houses, and built a small drill ground in the imperial capital, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. When Lin Muyu walked through the door, she could see the figures of dozens of cavalrymen practicing their battle techniques from afar. The person in charge of the post house was the tiger-level commander, Luo Jian. After not seeing him for a long time, he had actually cultivated from the first level of the Earth realm to the second level. His cultivation had greatly increased, and the charm in his eyes had become more reserved. "My lord." Luo Jian brought Lin Muyu into the depths of the post house and said with a smile, "Deputy Commander Luo, you asked me to tell you that the Longdan army camp currently has more than 20,000 elite soldiers. Moreover, they are all well-trained and well-equipped. In addition, the Dragon Rocky village at the foot of the mountain is constantly being moved here to settle down. The total population has already exceeded 100,000. Lin Muyu nodded. "The houses should have long since been insufficient, right?" "Yes, but they are constantly being expanded. In addition, Lord Luoyu has sent 5 patrol teams to patrol the village around the clock. The security of this Dragon Rocky village is not inferior to that of Lanyan City." "That's good. Do you have any other requests?" "Yes." Luo Jian touched his nose and smiled. "Lord Luoyu wants more white diamond arrows, so she sent me to transport 100,000 arrows to the imperial capital. There were a total of 10 carts, but when we passed through the north gate of Lanyan City, we were stopped by the Imperial Guards. They believed that this batch of steel arrows was more than what a martial artist could carry. They thought that our Longdan army camp had crossed the line and smuggled military supplies." "Damn." Lin Muyu grinned. "In a while, take my ribbon seal and ask for the things back. After the Imperial Guards see my ribbon seal, they will definitely let us go. Even if His Majesty has given his permission, they will not stop us." "Yes. There is one more thing." "What is it, guild leader?" "I've applied to His Majesty and asked the Ministry of Works to forge 20,000 badges of the Imperium for the Longdan army camp. They'll be shipped here soon. Take these badges back to Dragon Rocky Mountain, and tell our brothers that His Majesty knows of their existence and recognizes them as warriors who fight for the Imperium. Let them train and improve their combat ability with peace of mind, so that they can become a powerful troop in Lanyan City that cannot be ignored." "Yes." Luo Jian was overjoyed and said with a smile, "Everyone will be overjoyed when they see this batch of emblems, especially Lady Luoyu." Lin Muyu nodded. She also knew that Luoyu's ancestor was Luo Tonghai, who was ranked second among the Soaring Clouds Pavilion's 26 meritorious subjects. Luoyu's greatest wish was to become a famous general like her ancestor. Joining the Empire's army was the first step, but it was also a very precious first step. Not long after, a cart of golden badges was transported over by the officers from the Ministry of Works. Lin Muyu personally signed the receipt and sent the people from the Ministry of Works away. When she opened the box, she saw a golden light in front of her. She picked up a badge and looked at it. The people from the Ministry of Works were indeed skilled and ingenious. This badge was not much different from the Imperial Army's common military badge. The golden purple flower was very dazzling, but there was a small engraving of the words, Longdan Army Camp, at the bottom of the badge. This was truly an honor that no other army had ever had. Luo Jian was grinning from ear to ear. He picked up a badge and buckled it on his armor. He said with a smile, "In this case, the Imperial Guards will no longer obstruct our movements when we enter and leave the Imperial capital." Yes. Right at this time, the sound of wheels turning could be heard from outside. The arrows from the 10 carriages were about to arrive. Lin Muyu immediately leapt up her horse and said, "Send all these arrows to the temple." Yes. They returned to the temple and had an early dinner. Then they started working in the head deacon's office. The temple guards carried bundles of arrows in and piled them in front of Lin Muyu. There were too many of them, and it was really a headache. In the blink of an eye, there was a mountain of arrows in front of him. He could not help but feel his scalp go numb. However, when he thought about the power of the white diamond arrowheads, he obediently refined them. These white diamond arrowheads were deadly weapons, and they could also protect him. No matter how much effort he put in, it would be worth it. He took out the treasure refining cauldron and took out 4 white diamond crystals at the same time. He quickly refined them and extracted the essence of the white diamond crystals, and plated them on the steel arrowheads. This was a boring and tedious task, and it was also very exhausting. After an entire night, he had only smelted 20,000 white diamond arrowheads. There was still a lot of work left. F***CK. Looking at the mountain of arrows, Lin Muyu slowly collapsed on the office chair, panting heavily. The combat energy in her body was almost drained by the treasure-refining cauldron. She needed to rest and rely on the golden gourd martial spirit to absorb the spiritual energy from the heaven and earth to replenish her depleted combat energy. In an instant, the golden gourd turned into a faint golden light that enveloped Lin Muyu's body, as if it was plated with a layer of gold. Indeed, after stepping into the second sky of the heavenly realm, the green gourd martial spirit had undergone a huge change. In the words of Lei Hong and Chu Chu, it was impossible to accurately determine whether the golden gourd martial spirit was a 10th grade martial spirit. However, the essence of its power was at least equivalent to a 3rd grade martial spirit. It was not inferior to Feng Jixing's violet electric flame wolf. This was enough to explain everything. Slowly sinking her spiritual sense into Yi, she saw a stretch of emerald green. This time, she did not know what kind of spiritual fruit the 7 luminaries demon emperor had planted in the sea. Lin Muyu slowly landed on the ground. The emerald green was made of vines that grew very vigorously. On the vines, there were large and moist fruits that looked like melons. She plucked one and bit down. The juice instantly burst out. So sweet and fragrant. Where did this thief come from? The voice of the 7 luminaries demon emperor came from behind. Without turning her head, Lin Muyu laughed and said, "Demon Emperor, you completely treat my Yi as your own personal property. You plant melons and beans whenever you want. You're too arrogant. You didn't even ask for my permission. Look at what you're saying. Didn't we already sign a contract?" The 7 luminaries demon emperor raised his eyebrows. Behind him was a blood-red cloak that fluttered in the wind. His dark red hair was tied behind his head, forming an exquisite braid. He looked very handsome. Perhaps it was because of the spiritual farm, but the 7 luminaries demon emperor's spiritual personality was becoming more and more complete. His spiritual body was almost completely reconstructed. He once again became the invincible 7 luminaries demon emperor. Lin Muyu couldn't help but be startled. She said, "Looks like your spiritual soul is becoming more and more powerful." The 7 luminaries demon emperor smiled slightly. "That's right. My spiritual soul has already recovered by at least 70%. It will soon form a complete God Emperor's spiritual soul. Lin Ruoji, are you jealous?" "Jealous my ass." Although Lin Muyu was extremely jealous, she still had an arrogant look on her face. She said, "Even if your spiritual soul is completely restored, you still don't have a body." Sigh. The 7 luminaries demon emperor smiled faintly and said, "Lin Muyu, I, the 7 luminaries demon emperor, have traveled the heaven realm, the purgatory, and the human realm for hundreds of thousands of years. I have seen countless people, but I only look at you in a different light. To be honest, I originally wanted to seize your soul. Seize your body and make it mine. Within the 3 realms, your body is probably the most suitable for me. However, we have known each other for so long, and I don't want to see the day you become a soul without a master. How about this? Before I leave, I will teach you the 7 luminaries' profound energy. You can learn as much as you can. Consider it as a final gift from me, the 7 luminaries demon emperor, to you." "Why you want to leave?" Lin Muyu suddenly froze. She actually felt a sense of loss in her heart. That's right, after being in the shattered cauldron realm for so long, every time she faced danger, there would always be someone who would silently help her. Although the 7 luminaries demon emperor had always wanted to seize her body, in the end, he had always been helping her. Suddenly, the 7 luminaries demon emperor said that he wanted to leave, and she actually felt a sense of reluctance in her heart. The 7 luminaries demon emperor's spiritual soul was residing in Lin Muyu's Yi, so she could naturally sense the changes in his emotions. She couldn't help but laugh and say, "Stinking brat, You are usually so domineering. Why are you so wishy-washy now? This isn't the Lin Ruoji we know. Brat, when my spiritual soul is complete, I will have enough divine power to leave your Ihai and reconstruct my physical body. However, I still have to leave in the end. You will have to walk your own path in the future. My journey is to the vast heaven realm, where there are many gods, and your journey is to this chaotic world where there are iron horses and gold spears. Take care of yourselves. Now you can sleep. I will impart the power of the last 3 luminaries to you. How much you can comprehend will depend on yourself. Amen. Lin Wuyu nodded lightly, closed her eyes and fell asleep. Not long after, images flashed past her mind. The sea of stars, the forest of evil spirits and so on. Not long after, waves of profound energy violently attacked her soul and body without mercy. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was such a person. He was called a demon by the gods of the heaven realm, so how kind could he be? For Lin Wuyu to be able to consume the 7 luminaries' profound energy, it was his good fortune. If he couldn't, it meant that he didn't have this kind of fate. He could only blame himself if his body exploded and he died. Of course, the 7 luminaries' demon emperor had actually been merciful. Otherwise, the profound energy attack could have been even more violent. It wouldn't have been a problem to burn Lin Wuyu's central nervous system in an instant. In front of the 7 luminaries' demon emperor's powerful god emperor godhead. Even if Lin Wuyu's soul had strengthened quite a bit through cultivation, he was still as weak as a chicken. Although he was asleep, the pain that Lin Wuyu was enduring was incomparably clear. He couldn't help but clench his teeth, furrow his brows, and let out miserable howls. At the same time, there was an awoo-awoo-awoo sound in his mind. It was the Acatosaurus's cry. It had signed a main pet contract with Lin Wuyu, so naturally, it was the same as Lin Wuyu, sharing the pain brought by the 7 luminaries' profound energy attack. It was really hard on that tender little fellow. No, it had already lived for 1,000 years, so it couldn't be considered a little fellow. Chapter 290. Spring had arrived in the Qinling Mountains. The snowy peaks quickly melted, revealing the endless green peaks below. The south of the Qinling Mountains was a fertile land where the people of the southern ridge lived. 1,000 miles to the south, there were 3 misty peaks that pierced through the clouds. One could faintly see spirit cranes flying among them. These spirit cranes had lived for more than 10,000 years. They were the crystallization of the spirit of heaven and earth. These spirit cranes were born kind, and would never take the initiative to attack humans. This was also the reason why these 3 peaks were called sacred peaks. Between the steep ancient path, a group of people was slowly walking. This group of people was clustered around an old man in a white robe. This white robe was embroidered with golden purple flowers, and the hem was decorated with small purple gems. This old man looked to be around 60 years old. His eyes were faintly glowing as he lightly breathed. On the side, a person in military attire cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, is that person really worth our effort?" "Yes." The head that was called Your Highness said. "He may be the only god in the mortal world. As long as we can win his support, great things can be expected. General Ji Yao, you will know when you see him. The last time I saw him was 20 years ago, but after so many years, his every move seems to be right in front of me." Ji Yao was startled and said with a smile, "A person that can make the Southern Guardian King cross thousands of mountains and rivers to come to this barren land must be extraordinary. This subordinate will wait and see. Later, when you see him, you must be respectful. Don't talk nonsense." "Yes." About 2 hours later, the Southern Guardian King, Ji Yao, and the others finally reached the top of the mountain. On the top of the mountain, there was a golden palace that pierced through the clouds. It was like the palace of a god that had fallen into the mortal world. Outside the palace, several servants in plain clothes were waving brooms and sweeping the fallen leaves on the ground. When the Southern Guardian King and the others came close, they raised their heads and asked, "What are you all doing?" The Southern Guardian King respectfully cupped his fists and said, "The Southern Guardian King Qin Yi greets the Celestial Supreme Luo Lan. I hope the Celestial Supreme can grant me an audience." The servant smiled and said, "Your Highness, please go back. The Celestial Supreme has not seen anyone in the mortal world for many years." Qin Yi was taken aback. "This?" Ji Yao angrily put his hand on the hilt of his sword and yelled, "You are so unreasonable. Our lord has come to invite him, but he is so rude. He doesn't even let him see the door. What kind of logic is this?" The attendant smiled. "General, Senior Immortal was originally one of the gods in the heaven realm. He cultivated in the mortal realm, and did not want to come into contact with the mortal world. I hope General can understand." "I understand you." Ji Yao had a violent temperament. He drew his sword and slashed. The blade was filled with dou qi. He was going to split the attendant into two. The Southern Guardian King wanted to stop him, but it was too late. However, at this moment, a faint smile appeared on the attendant's face. He suddenly let out a shout that was like a golden bell, and the sound waves struck the surrounding people to the point that they could not move at all. However, Ji Yao's sword could not continue slashing down no matter how hard he tried. It was as if his body was no longer under his control. Domain. This was the power of a domain. This unassuming sweeper was actually a sanctuary powerhouse. Ji Yao was dumbfounded. Qin Yi hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "My subordinate does not know the proper etiquette. Please forgive him. Qin Yi only wants to see Senior Immortal once, and listen to a few words of advice from Senior Immortal. This trip will not be in vain." The waiter sighed. "Since that's the case, come with me. But you're alone." "Yes." Qin Yi tidied up his sleeves and followed the attendant into the golden hall. He saw that the hall was filled with gold and jade, and there were a few towering trees planted there. These trees did not wither in the winter and were still green, which was amazing. Qin Yi was very respectful, and followed the attendant all the way to the end of the hall. After opening the hall door, a tyrannical Qi immediately hit him in the face. Although Qin Yi had the Qin family's bloodline, like Qin Jin, he had not comprehended the god-binding chains. His cultivation was only at the first level of the earth realm. He was pushed back several steps and fell to the ground. Only then did he slowly crawl up and kneel on the ground. He walked into the hall and said sincerely, "Southern Guardian King Qin Yi greets Senior Immortal Luolan." Inside the hall, an old man with white hair and beard sat on a throne. His divine aura was restrained, and he wore a white robe. There were more than 10 people sitting on both sides of him. Each of them seemed to have an imposing manner. "Your Highness Southern Guardian King, we meet again." Luolan opened her eyes and smiled at Qin Yi. Qin Yi hurriedly knelt down and cupped his fists, saying, "Yes. To be able to see Senior Immortal again. Qin Yi's death is enough. Tell me, why have you come here?" Luolan asked. Qin Yi said in a low voice, "In this world, Qin Jin has ascended to the throne and used powerful officials. The warlords of North Ridge have already established a separatist regime. They have levied taxes and plundered innocent women to make them their concubines. The heavens are angry and the people resent them. They have caused many lives to be torn apart. The emperor is so cruel and inhumane that the heavens and earth mourn. Qin Yi is untalented, but I am willing to unite the vassals of South Ridge and overthrow the emperor. I want people to be benevolent and all lives are equal. I want to build a country of righteousness and harmony, and give the people a chance to live an equal life. So, Qin Yi is bold enough to ask Senior Immortal to come out of seclusion and pacify the world for me. How dare you?" A big man with a curly beard on Luolan's right shouted. "Qin Yi, who do you think you are? How dare you try to order Senior Immortal? You are too arrogant." Qin Yi hurriedly knelt down again. "Senior Immortal, if not for me, please do it for the people of the world." Luolan smiled slightly, raised his palm, and pushed lightly. Immediately, an invisible force quickly helped Qin Yi up. Then Luolan stood up and stepped out, but with a Qi Law sound he stepped into a crack in space. In the next second his figure appeared at the entrance of the hall 100 meters away. Looking at the vast clouds in the sky, Luolan said lightly, "King of South Subduing, do you really want to fight for the people of the world?" Qin Yi turned around and said humbly, "Yes, after obtaining the world, Qin Yi will never call himself emperor." "Is that so?" Luolan smiled and said, "Qin Yi, Do you know why I, Luo Lan, am unwilling to ascend to the heaven realm after 10,000 years? Why? Because. Luo Lan narrowed his eyes and said, because the gods of the heavens cannot tolerate the gods of the lower realm. Instead of being reduced to the bottom in the heaven realm, it is better to live freely and happily in the human realm. What do you think? Senior Immortal is wise. Qingyi. Yes. Luo Lan's gaze seemed to pierce through Qingyi's heart. She said lightly, I don't care if you are doing this for the people of the world. And I don't care if you ascend to the throne after obtaining the world. But if you want me to help you, you must promise me one thing. Senior Immortal, please say it. Qingyi was a little excited. Luo Lan smiled and said, after you obtain the world, you must rebuild the shrine and worship me, Luo Lan. In addition, you must take out 20% of the annual tax revenue from the national treasury and offer it to me. As long as you fulfill these two conditions, I will leave the mountain and help you obtain the world. Qingyi's eyelids trembled a little. 20% of the nation's tax revenue. Luo Lan was really demanding an exorbitant price. However, the temptation of a God-state expert was too great. Qingyi couldn't resist it and immediately cupped his fists and said, Qingyi agrees. When can Celestial Venerable follow Qingyi down the mountain? Luo Lan waved her hand. Anytime. At the same time, the 7 Saint Realm Masters under me can also be ordered. Qingyi nodded. Yes, thank you, Senior Immortal Luo Lan. Luo Lan smiled and looked up at the vast mist in the sky again. What is the heavenly Tao? It's just a matter of power. Everyone in the Saint Peak, listen up. Follow me to the north of the mountain and kill that greedy emperor. Yes, Senior Immortal. Qingyi bowed to the ground, but he could not help but have a smug smile on his face. Flap, flap, flap. The messenger bird flapped its white wings and gently landed on the greenhouse of the spiritual medicine department. It hopped to Chu Yao's hand. Chu Yao could not help but smile. She hugged the messenger bird and took out the scroll inside the tube. She opened it and saw Chu Huayin's handwriting. The Valkyrie wood has been found. Brother will carve it for you within a month. Chu Yao couldn't help but giggle and muttered to herself, Big brother is really serious. On the side, a female alchemist smiled and said, Deacon Chu Yao, your brother is now the commander of the Flying Mount Camp. Your elder brother, Chu Huayin, is now the commander of the Flying Mount Battalion. I heard that the Flying Mount Battalion has set up a camp outside the northern forest of the imperial capital and conducts drills every day. As a commander, he must be extremely busy with military affairs. You actually asked him to carve some exquisite pearl for you. This younger sister is really annoying. You're asking for a beating. Chu Yao waved her fist and said with a smile. You don't know, but there is a legend in my hometown, Silver Fir City. Using the sturdy Valkyrie wood to make exquisite pearls and carving the appearance of the person you care about around the pearls. It can bless them and keep them safe. The female alchemist smiled. Then tell me, what kind of appearance is carved on this exquisite pearl? Chu Yao's face turned red. There are 4 people in total. One is me, one is my brother, one is Sister Xinxiang, and the last one. Who is the last one? The female alchemist jokingly said. Let me guess, it must be a Deacon Lin from the Holy Temple opposite our spiritual medicine division. I heard that he is also a general who protects the nation. A high-ranking official. Chu Yao laughed and scolded. I taught you to refine medicine every day, but you're not good at it. You actually know so much about these trivial matters. Humph, you is even busier than my brother, and he hasn't come to the spiritual medicine division to see me for many days. You can go to the spiritual medicine division to see him. I'm a girl, I have to be reserved. Oh, our Deacon Chu Yao is actually so reserved, hee. Stupid girl, I'll teach you first. After fooling around for a while, Chu Yao's expression suddenly darkened. Xiaolan, should we make a trip to the Divine Marquis's residence and visit Sister Xinxiang? The alchemist named Xiaolan nodded. Yes, I heard that the Divine Marquis Zheng Yifan moved his family to Tianshu province, but Zhenxiang insisted on not following the Divine Marquis back. She even threatened to kill herself, so the Divine Marquis left a few generals in the Divine Marquis's residence to protect Zhenxiang. Unfortunately, Lord Chu Huayin promised that he would never see Xinxiang again. Why can't two people who love each other be together? Chu Yao sat there absent-mindedly, pursing her red lips. Maybe they don't want to leave. They just want to watch over each other in Lanyan City. Xiaolan. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.